doing this. I'm not
Okay,
sick.
I always sound horrible.
You don't have COVID. Yeah.
I'm not going.
All right, welcome.
keep
The
it that
time
way.
is
Keep it at
6:31
welcome to
on
the
December
club. Yeah.
5th. This is
You're
the
joining the
select
rest
board
of us.
meeting. We'll open as per usual with the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And our roll call, Dave Hemingway, Chair of the Select Board,
Blake, select person?
and Marlo is out sick this evening. So moving forward, that brings us to, I believe, our announcements. Yes, of which I have two to mention quickly. You'll find them on our website as well. The first is that the tax collector is open additional hours. As you probably noticed, you just got a tax bill. Those additional hours will be 1 to 3:30 on December 14th, 16th, 23rd, and January 4th. The second announcement is a reminder that the winter parking restrictions are in effect from November 1st to April 1st, despite the weather being reasonably mild so far this winter. So thankfully, we haven't had to make much use of that. That being said, are there other announcements?
I have none, yeah.
I have one. The
Yes.
newspaper is coming out, it's just gonna be late, and that stuff is gonna be in the paper too, so,
Perfect.
thank you.
All right. Do either of our chiefs have any announcements?
Good.
All right, perfect. So we'll move on to appointments, the first of which is a treasurer report. Sorry, I still have to get used to it. I'm not used to looking at you as the treasurer. I'm used to seeing you as a trustee.
Yeah, it's hard for me too.
But she's still smiling.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Therese Larson, and I'm if you new treasurer as of August 1st for the town of Webster. And
Gotta speak up a little bit louder.
oh, okay. So the previous treasurer had resigned, and I happily volunteered to help out. And I can say that with the help of Dana and Wendy, the financial director, and Michelle Derby, the town clerk, we are caught up with this entire year of bank reconciliations for all the accounts. There's not just one account for the town, there's an operating account, and then there's 25 to 30 other accounts that have to be kept track of, and we're in good shape. And the tax bills just went out, so there'll be more money coming in, and that'll be better shape. So, but yeah, I'm enjoying the work, and it's just good that we're all caught up, and even before the next bank statement comes out in November, so we're good
Awesome.
right through October. So,
Well, thank you very much for getting on top of that for us.
well, I couldn't have done it without Dana and Wendy and Michelle, because we all, you know, they're all part of everything that goes into it.
Teamwork.
There's a lot to it.
And just think, we cooperate in this town, which is amazing for a lot of places. Thank you very much.
Therese has done a great job.
Yep.
And certainly has been cheerful, and she's had a lot of work to do and has put in many, many hours to do this. So I'd like to just say thank you, Therese.
Well, thank you.
And because you've done really a great job, as I knew you would.
Thank you. I'm enjoying it too, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I guess that moves us to our second appointment, which do not appear to be here. Those Tara Gunnigal and John Pearson on project statuses. And I don't have further details on that to try to speak to it without them here. So that brings us to department heads.
Go ahead if you'd like.
Okay, so, budget. As of November 29th, I got 6.85% of my budget left, which is $20,497.19. We were in good shape to get us to the end of the year easily. From November 1st to the 30th, was not as busy as it was last month. We had 48 motor vehicle stops, 8 summonses, with fines totaling $1,054. We had 2 arrests and 1 involuntary emergency admission, an IEA. The officers handled 51 calls for service for the month, anywhere from civil complaints, department information received, which is tips on things that are going on inside town, domestic violence petitions, and it's a long list, so you can see the 51 calls are kind of like spread out. Domestic violence petitions, involuntary admissions, juvenile petitions served, mental health checks. That's when somebody calls in and requests that we check on somebody within the town. Either they won't answer their phone or they can't contact them, so we go check on them. Motor vehicle complaints, residential burglary alarms with no burglaries, suspicious persons, welfare checks, animal complaints, assist to other agencies, assist to the citizens, assist to the fire department, EMS, lost property turned in, a couple of calls for discharging firearms, that was during hunting season mainly, and other nondescript, which is animal complaints or just minor complaints. Myself and the lieutenant went to the chief's conference, had training all on risk management. Almost everything on risk management was really good. I mean, they paid $10,000 to fly a guy in from California to talk to us on risk management for 8 hours. And it was enlightening on some of the stuff that he informed us about. So that was good. And then we had another 4-hour block on health for EMS, fire department personnel, and police officers, and found that the #1 killer now is heart attacks, other than on-job deaths. So, could be more helpful,
Stress.
more conscious. Stress, that's what it is. Most of it's stress related.
Right, and we've been doing a lot of that stress-related stuff because now with the police in fire, with the suicides being as high as they are, there's been a lot of different training on that, and we're gonna do some here too. And pretty sure now a police officer for firemen, the suicide, that can go underneath if it's related to death on duty.
Yep,
Correct, am I saying that right?
yep.
Where before it was just kind of pushed aside. But in the EMS and the fire world, with the chiefs meetings and stuff, there's a lot more of that going on than meets the eye or the normal person sees, with the stress over the years. I didn't mean to cut in, but
Nope, you kicked right in at the right time. So that's what I have.
Perfect. Any questions? Or-
No,
Right.
Does
do a
anybody,
great job.
nobody has mentioned the markings on the new cruiser.
Is what?
The new cruiser was lettered, nobody has mentioned it. I haven't heard one person in town mention the lettering.
well, you go so
Has anybody
fast,
seen him?
you go so fast, you can't see it.
Thankfully,
If
it
he does,
hasn't-
he's in trouble.
Thankfully, it hasn't pulled me over, so
Yes. Maybe that's why, maybe he hasn't pulled anybody over, they don't notice.
Oh, he's pulled a lot of people over with it,
Yeah.
both of them have.
But it's good, it really glows in the dark because it's all,
It's the
Oh, wow.
it's reflective.
Awesome.
That's good, you need it in this day and age.
Absolutely.
The way people drive, I'm telling you, I can't believe it.
I know the cops drive terrible.
All right.
Gentlemen, last time you were here, we had talked at the department head meeting about ARPA.
Absolutely.
And ARPA funds, and I brought the board some of your suggestions. And I thought this might be, if you had any questions that you wanted to ask, then it might be a good time. that, because I'm not a good spokesman. I know one thing I didn't do very well was explaining what Emmett was talking about as far as the trailer
Oh, yes.
for the fire.
So our trailer, I've got some prices from a different couple of companies. So our ambulance is a 97. It's the oldest ambulance state inspected through the state to run as an ambulance in the state of New Hampshire. And they couldn't believe when they came out last month to inspect it, to have the license to run it as an ambulance, that it was in the shape that it's in. So that's due to be replaced in a little bit. But the new ambulances and everything, this is a heavy-duty rescue ambulance, and so we'll be stepping down a size. And the ambulance we have now has the cascade for our breathing apparatus at a building fire or at a hazmat scene, not only for Webster but for mutual aid. And the trailer that we were looking at would be set up with that cascade system in it so we don't lose that. And all at the same time, we won't have room for our cold water rescue gear. And putting that in there. And Salisbury has one that they have their side-by-side in, and then they bring that when you call and they back that out, and they have whiteboards and everything with a generator and start that up on a rainy, cold night, and you use that as a command post. So,
So it's basically to be the support vehicle that the new ambulance won't be.
able to do, and you'll pull this trailer with the forestry truck.
So will that require more vehicles going out each time, or?
No, because on a search and rescue or something, the forestry goes out, and then in the winter, we take the forestry truck and take the water tank and empty it and take the pump and everything out. So that goes out when the ambulance goes out if it's staffed, so it's got a barrel of sand and stuff in the back to do the walks, and to, a lot of times on a slippery night, you have to sand the driveway if I'm not handy with a sand truck to get there. So that goes out a lot in the winter with the ambulance anyways, so it's not, we won't have to add a new vehicle to pull the trailer, if that's where you, so that's the story on that trailer.
Okay.
Sounds good. People don't realize all the things that the fire department and the police department end up doing. I mean, it's
Yeah.
something that not everybody talks about, unless
Yeah.
you need it, but you need it when you need it.
I mean, the other night, we called Salisbury and Concord for their UTVs for a search to work with the police department and Fish and Game. So Salisbury came down with theirs, they unloaded the ATV or the UV, the buggy, and went to the search, and, you know, they had all the whiteboards, and we started up the generator, and it was pretty.
Concord had theirs, Concord's got basically the same
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, Concord came out, we set, it was pretty good to have the light and the,
Oh, yeah.
and everything, other than sitting in the front seat of your pickup with the back side of the paper, so, that's the story on the trailer.
Did they find the person?
Yes,
Oh,
yes,
good. Well,
yes,
that's
we did.
good.
Right over at the Concord town line.
Really?
Yeah, you walk the power lines, the whole length of the power lines, and,
Through the swamp.
through the swamp.
Oh,
and the
my
water,
God.
And, we had 6 fishing game officers.
Six fishing game showed up.
6
Two
fishing
with
game
four-wheelers.
officers in our police department in the Webster, and then we called Concord and Salisbury in with their,
Wow.
couple
Well, at
hours.
least they,
Yeah, we had over 35 people there,
Yeah.
so it
wow,
was a good turnout.
at least it came out good.
Yeah.
Unharmed, he was okay. They transported him to Concord just to be checked out, but he was okay.
Yeah.
So on that list was my question for kind of the safety building in whole, was the electronic board for out front, for the signage.
Yep.
I know that we've talked about this at one point in the past, and then this one is, of course, significantly less expensive than the previous one.
Lot smaller.
The interesting part to me that I see very different between them, however, is that the previous one was basically a display where you could put anything on it, and this, at least from reading it, looks like it's only one of those like scrolling text things.
It's a scrolling text, but you can also, you can put pictures on it, but the pixels are nowhere near as good as the ones on the other one, because it's half the cost, that's why. And it's basically almost half the size. I think it would work fine for what we need it for. I mean, it would give us, 15 to 20 years of service, and I think it's warranted for 15. And the good thing is the parts on it, if a pixel did go, it's replaceable. You pop them out and then put another one right in. It's got a protective cover over it. Instead of being metal, we put wooden posts in it, so we cut the cost down. And we cut the cost down so that we have to do the prep work. We put the posts in, we put all the groundwork. We run the wires down to it, they just come and set it all up and get it up and running for us. But the good thing is, I could sit at my house and on my phone with an app, I can change the sign, put what I want on that sign.
Oh, that's neat.
And Dana can do it from here, so Dana can do it, Russ could, anybody, town hall could. You could change the sign if you want to add something on there. I mean, selectmen's meeting tonight.
Does that mean it would be requiring connectivity that is
It's
definitely
all
challenging?
Wi-Fi,
Okay.
complete Wi-Fi.
So,
And we will Wi-Fi it from our station to it. The only we gotta run power to is from, we'll put it right next to the telephone pole that's there, run power down from the pole to it.
my IT security hat does not like the fact that it would be on your police network, but.
I don't think it would, we can make sure, I know we talked to the computer guys, and he says they can make sure that it can't be hacked into.
They can make sure that, they should be able to make sure that it's isolated from your actual network, but security issues show up in everything.
Oh.
Especially if they're
No matter
around
what
that
it
long.
is, no matter what it is.
Because eventually, you just can't update them anymore.
True.
But yeah, as long as we take care to make sure that that's segmented that way, that would be okay. Though I would personally
Have you seen what it
prefer-
looks like?
Not this particular one.
Have you gone by the Merrimack County Nursing Home?
Yep.
See the lighted sign in front?
Oh, so it's like theirs.
Identical to that one.
Okay.
That's where we got the quote from. Contacted them and they told us who they bought it through. We contacted the guy, he came right out. They came out and displayed it, showed us everything, told us how it worked. And they'll be happy to come down here and talk to the board and explain everything to them, answer
Okay.
questions.
Sweet.
That might be nice to do.
That would be a good thing,
Yeah.
especially to
It's
show
nice if,
everybody what.
also go by and
Yeah,
look
right,
at it.
show
'cause it's
everybody what it's doing.
multicolored, and a lot of good functions for it.
Mhm. Yes.
I just have a question. How big, you said it's just like the one in front of the county home?
Yep, if you look, notice, did you see the new small one that they put in the front?
No, I haven't been over there in about 2 weeks. Was that the one they were advertising for help?
Yep, that's the one.
Oh.
It's been there
Yeah, it's been there a while.
4 or 5 months anyway, if not
Yeah.
longer.
Okay, so that's the one.
Just like
Well-
that, same size, everything.
Devil's advocate here, because I know it happened in Bosquen, it happened in Concord. If we have that sign, that does, it flashes to different messages, right?
Yep,
On it?
it scrolls them, yes.
Okay. Like I said, it happened in Concord with a car dealership, with Capital Center of the Arts. Once somebody puts that sign out, other people, maybe other businesses in town, other people will start putting those signs out. Like I said, I'm just being devil's advocate. I don't think it's a horrible idea. I mean, I know it's for a reason, but I just want you to think about that. You know, if we open up a Pandora's box, if some other people want to put up the same type of.
It is a fair
thing.
point that we should make sure.
We don't have any
to-
businesses that would,
What
business would put a sign out?
But even residents could do it.
Why
Well,
would a resident
so-
spend $20,000 for a sign in
so-
front of the house?
Why did they spend $100,000 for Christmas
So,
lights?
so not really. A business can, but they still go through things with the planning board
Right.
for specific signage. A general resident can't just put up a glowing sign. That's not something that you can do with
Even on a
our
smaller,
zoning
even on a
stuff.
smaller size?
Nope. So but that is a good comment, and we should look at how it falls compared to the planning board. And even though this town is not under that same zoning limitation, we should definitely get feedback from the planning board and kind of go through that process just to see what they say
Sure.
and think before we do it. Because they may say, well, the better one is better, the more expensive one is better because it's more solid instead of moving, or provides light to the area too, or whatever. So there may be additional things that they may think of that we might not. So going through that process is probably a good idea, even though technically we don't have to. So, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions or particular projects to point out on the ARPA stuff before we go on to the rest of the department?
So we have the driveway, sealing
Oh,
the
yes.
driveway. That will extend the life of that driveway by quite a bit. I mean, that'll save us from paving it for the next, 8, 9 years, if not longer. I think that'll be a big improvement, and it's been 10 years or longer since it was sealed last time. But of course, you're not gonna be able to seal it now, it's gonna have to wait till summer.
We could get on the list for early,
Right.
yeah, if we know.
Now, when you say sealing, is this kind of like the chip seal that was done on the road, or is this the like smear it on kind of
Yep.
seal that we would
They
do on
spray
the
it.
driveway?
Spray
Right,
it
the
to fill in
hot,
the
the
cracks.
hot, the hot
Hot,
seal.
yeah.
Okay,
It's hot, it comes out of that tank and,
Yep.
seals the cracks. Yeah, it's not chip seal.
okay. And so is that a seal over everything, or is it only sealing the cracked areas?
No, everything.
Okay,
Complete driveway, everything. Everything that's asphalt will be sealed.
okay.
The other thing that was on that list was carpeting in the police
Yeah,
department.
that was my next,
And, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
that was,
jump-
no, that's
jump
good,
in front of
I'm
you.
glad you're bringing it up.
And again, the ARPA money is, it's great to have, but maybe that's also something we could look at a different funding source to do, but it's something that needs to be done.
Yeah, because there are funds already set aside for building maintenance and upgrades for the safety building, so.
Yeah, the carpet that's in there has been there since day one, and it's on top of concrete, and it's,
I think everybody agrees that it's a good idea to change that.
yeah.
I think the question would be where the funding should come
Yeah,
from.
and go to a vinyl instead, industrial vinyl instead. And so much better.
And, sorry, you had a comment?
Yeah, get back to Emmett with a rescue vehicle. You said you had that just re-inspected and they made a comment on how well that vehicle was? If I understood you right?
The shape it was in for being a 97, correct?
Right. And I don't quite understand exactly what that meant, was how much more life is there in that vehicle?
Well,
What does that mean?
what's it mean?
Yeah, I mean, you made that comment that they can't believe what condition that vehicle was in.
Right, because we keep our stuff nice.
I understand. I know we're on, I believe, a policy every 15 years or whatever, we replace a vehicle.
10 on an ambulance.
So what I'm getting at, I believe, I don't know if it still is or not, but we got rid of one fire truck to Massachusetts and they ran it for another 10, 15 years.
3 years.
So, but what I'm getting at, just because it's a 10 or 15 year cycle that we're on, doesn't really necessarily mean that that vehicle is not really something we have to get rid of. If we can run it for another 5 years and save us quite a lot of money, because this vehicle is really still in good condition.
So one of the things that you'll find.
It may be something we ought to look at and run for another 3-4 years.
So that's something that the CIP takes into consideration, and we'll get back in part of the CIP report when that shows up. But one of the things to keep in mind about vehicles is that they're always cheaper until something happens, and then they're more expensive again. So you end up with severe spikes instead of a kind of steady load, and so that, in the case of municipality, would mean drastically changing tax loads.
I understand that part
And so
too, but I
trying to-
understand,
It could also mean that, for example, because it's an older vehicle, it's no longer under warranty, it's hard to get parts and service, and so now there's no ambulance when you need it.
this is some issues, but I do know that a
So,
lot of vehicles out there don't run as well as some of the old ones.
Certainly true.
Yeah,
But again, this is all stuff that the CIP committee should be looking at and should come in their report to us as to what they're recommending for a purchase schedule for the vehicles.
I know a lot of people out there rebuilding their old trucks instead of going out and buying a new one. They're putting $30,000 in an old motor and rebuilding that old truck.
But
Instead
part
of going
of
out
this
and
is-
spending $300,000 for a brand new one.
okay, we didn't, no one said we were buying a new ambulance.
I didn't say that, Emmett.
So, but if we back up just one step, I've already done that once to this ambulance. I sent it out, actually, it was before I was chief. They brought it to the town hall, and they wanted a new ambulance, and I told them, and we ended up going that route, let's spend $30,000 or $40,000 and have this one rehabbed. And we did, and it served the purpose. The inspection I'm talking about isn't state inspecting to go to the gas station to get a sticker, which that's all in good shape to do that. This is the inspection on the people in the back, in the quality of the stuff.
How well the emergency crews have prepared.
Right, and
Well,
they
I
don't
think that's what
usually
I was asking you.
inspect, the state to inspect the ambulance, usually only anything over 25 years old, they won't even put in service. They won't use it. But we're still going,
This is the questions I was trying to ask you.
yeah. And that's where I'm going, so we're trying to, in a couple of years, I'm not gonna spend almost $300,000 for a new ambulance. I have been working with another department that changes ambulances every 2 to 3 years. And to buy a used ambulance that's in real good shape, I've known it since it's been bought, and it's been well maintained, for 50 grand, instead of 300, that's what I'm.
That sounds reasonable.
That's what I'm working on with the CIP, and we have a fire truck that is due to be bought brand new in 2 years. So I've extended the life of that truck. I'm gonna put it out another 5 years. So in 7 years, we're gonna be looking at a new fire truck. We paid $340,000 for that fire truck when we bought it new. It's gonna be $900,000 to replace that stripped fire truck, a plain Jane fire truck, in 7 years. It's gonna be $900,000.
I've been,
At a minimum.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of work to keep this stuff together and working with, the CIP and the select board, but it's always good to make things last. And if anybody can get a last ride out of something, Emmett Bean can.
I agree with that.
But I don't wanna leave the next fire chief in a hill of beans by not having the equipment or the town that needs to be in place because I can make it work.
I'm not arguing with you, Emmett.
No, I know,
I'm
no
trying to
arguing, we're just
clarify the
talking,
statement that
yeah.
you made, that they made a comment that
Yeah.
this thing was in excellent condition.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to,
yeah, and I'm
Get
proud
that
of
answer.
that.
Yeah.
I'm
and
proud
I
of that.
think you answered
So,
that.
Yeah,
So thank you, and, but let's,
it's
I
not
know
only-
that they've got a thing for dealing with budgets and
yeah,
projects, so
yeah, but I'm
maybe
just
they'll touch on
explaining
it
it to
then.
John, and it's not only me
But,
that keeps that stuff, it's all the members. They wash it, clean it out, and they do a great
But-
job.
But I wanna go ahead and let you finish your, department head reports.
Okay, so seeing we're on fire, that's a nice letter, if you read that, you can pass that on to Dee, that came from the church, because we shared the dinner, we let
Oh, yeah,
the church
that's right.
use the firehouse for
Oh,
the
that's
dinner.
right.
Yep.
And they were well appreciated, and how two different organizations can get along so well, and, I thought that was a nice letter they sent back.
Very much.
So,
That is nice. We should put that in the
I can
grapevine.
pass it down that
You
way.
can,
I'd love to do
yeah,
that.
you can
Okay.
take that, I have a copy at the firehouse
Okay,
already, so,
on your website.
you
And I-
can.
And I have to say one thing too, thank you for keeping that old truck, it's nice to keep the old stuff too, if it's running good, that's the way to do
Yeah,
it.
I'm not into computers.
Just like us.
I'm
We gotta
not
keep
into
ourselves
computers.
running.
I'm not into that DAP,
Me either.
and I'm not into it, but,
But that's really a town saving money thing,
It is.
and you have the talent, cause I don't sure have the talent.
so the city of Concord, they're leaving diesel in their ambulances and going back to back to gas because of that DEF and all that computer stuff was shutting down, getting a patient to Concord Hospital. So, because of the computer stuff, so, all right, so in my fire budget, I have $36,989.14 left, that's 48% of my budget, so that is left in the budget. I'm sorry, last month's meeting, I didn't make it, we were on a motor vehicle, no, we were on trees and wires
Trees down,
down,
yeah.
on, the street was closed, and, we got that,
That was a
cleaned
fun
up.
fire to hear about.
What's
That
that?
was a fun fire to hear about.
Yeah,
Fun fire.
so we're at 197 calls to the year. That's where we're at the firehouse. I do have a new application at the firehouse, the young man's an EMT already, and, doing the background check through the
State.
the police department, the driving record, so, that should be happening soon.
Will we need to, have additional gear prepared for this person?
For the EMTs, we use the better of the gear that's outdated because they don't go into building fires.
Okay.
It's for motor vehicle accidents and stuff, but I do have a member, a young lady, that, has passed her fire one, and she's almost through her fire two, and she's gonna start an EMT class, right off, and I have to buy her new gear because I don't have gear for her. But I have plenty of money here in my budget, and then, we were going through gear.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you should look at doing
Yeah.
it this year.
Yeah,
then.
well, by the time, yeah, that's, so, I'm gonna buy 6 new tires. You can only run tires on a fire truck for 7 years, no matter how good they are, they gotta be on. We have a fire truck was bought in 2004 with the same tires, so they're gonna be changed, right off. So there's 6 tires at $600 and something a piece. And then, that's gonna come out of this budget. I'm gonna order them up here soon. Other than training and, monthly meetings, it's,
So now, when you trade off those old tires for the truck, can will you get any kind of money for them, or the department, they just dump them? I mean, whoever takes
Well,
them.
you have to pay to get rid of them.
Oh, you gotta pay to get rid of them?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, they start getting cracks,
Oh,
sidewalls.
okay, yeah,
and
'cause they're
they
just
get
sitting around
from
lots of
sitting
times,
And,
yeah.
So if someone wants a tire swing, contact.
Tire swing, yeah, really.
To be honest with you, because it's who I am.
Yeah,
when I
no,
get the
appreciate
tires- When I
that.
get the tires back, I'll probably run them out on an old snowplow truck, cause if they blow in the middle of the winter during a snowstorm, they're not, 6 people aren't gonna be going around the corner in a $500,000 fire truck and get hurt.
Yeah,
Town's
no.
not gonna get sued. So that's probably where they're gonna end up, cause they're not bald.
No, that's good, but that's good, that's a great way.
They're
I
not bald, but they're outdated for a fire truck.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
So,
That's what I like about you, you're very conscientious.
I've had the air compressor for the breathing apparatus, IPS came in last week and went through the compressor because the air has to be tested quite often, and they did a complete service on that.
That's the
pump-
air pack stuff, right?
Yep, and on the 15th of December, MSA is coming to do their yearly inspection on the MSAs, the breathing apparatus that has to be done once a year. So that will be behind us. And they service the pumps. And the pump tests were done a month or so ago. I just passed the bills in today and everything was in good shape.
Good, perfect.
The 3 pumps passed. The new truck that I have ordered, I've been talking with the salesman, and the cabin chassis is an International, and we were supposed to take purchase of that cabin chassis this month of December, and the International factory has shut down to move from one location to another, so that's gonna put the cab and chassis behind another 8 months.
Wow, 8 months.
Wow.
Wow.
So that's just an update where we're at with the new fire truck. Cause I don't think I passed, well, I wasn't here last month, so.
No, right.
So I've been working with him with that. So any questions on the firehouse? I wasn't there on Halloween night, but I guess the folks that were and did the truck or treat, they had a good night, they had a bunch of people.
It looked pretty good.
Yep, you went down, they had the trailer from the fire academy for the kids to go through with the beds and the ways in and the escape routes, and
Oh, that's good.
Rob helped us with that, setting that all up and working with that, and I've heard a lot of good comments.
That's good, that's good.
My question would be that, at least from the last budget report that I have, which I think was end of the month, I didn't see anything in the dry hydrant stuff, but I know you guys have at least checked on them a couple different times, and I thought
Right,
you
in the
fixed
dry-
some too, right?
I fixed the one behind the school this spring. They just called last week and the parts are in for the one that's bad that had been back ordered for the last 3 months down there, but I don't know now with it being cold if we're gonna be able to get into the water, but we'll still be able to use that
What-
with just 2 lengths of
You
suction.
mean by my house?
Yeah,
The water's high now,
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
I noticed
yeah.
that, yeah, really, jeez.
Let's just make sure that we've got stuff in the right line items, since I feel like it looked like we hadn't taken anything out of that, so
Okay,
maybe we have a bill someplace else instead of there.
okay.
I'm not sure this spring when I did the one behind the school. I don't know, maybe I paid for that out of my own pocket. Maybe I never even sent you a bill.
That's okay,
Well, thank you.
but I can look it up, yeah.
So that was my only question there, to fill out stuff from the year.
Okay. So the highway, been kinda slow the last, whatever we finished up the tractor that we were renting. Rim split on that, so it sat for a week or so over on the end of Little Hill on, the White Plains Road. I told Phil and the chief what was going on, so they knew, that the tractor was there, so we got the rim, got that all back into shape. Larry finished up a little bit of the mowing today. Other than a couple of little dub storms and stuff, and working with Fred Regan from the school in the mornings at 3 o'clock when he calls, 3:30, quarter or 4 in the morning to check on the roads, so, so we haven't been doing a whole lot
That's good.
on that, with that part. So, block grant has $3,807.29 left in that, so that's 5.19% left in that, but the 2 weeks of tractor rental will, make that disappear like a flash of lightning. I have $50,968.91 in my regular budget. That's 22.42% left. Still have a month to go. I've ordered cutting edges. I've got the quote, I've got to get a PO made up with Dana here to be signed up. That's, almost $5,000 because they don't give them away anymore. That's where I'm at with the budget. This next week, I'm probably going to, after the rain on Wednesday, I'm probably going to rent the big rock pounder from Chapel Tractor like we have in the past and go down to the pit and break up a bunch of them great big rocks before it all gets snowed on, so when Henniker Crushed Stone comes in the spring to crush us up our gravel, it's all prepared and all ready to go. So,
That's one nice thing about not having snow yet.
Yeah.
You can go out there and
Yeah.
do some of that stuff.
Yep. I know we need a public hearing for this, but on the scenic road, on Bash and Hollow, them first 3 rocks that cars bang often, and we usually get called to go down there, and I know the police chief has told me in the past, next time you have that machine in town, you'd like to see them gone. So I don't know, that probably won't happen this time when it's in town, but while we're thinking about it,
Have a public
if we
hearing.
have a public hearing about them,
So that it could be handled the next time.
or whatever, because I know it takes time to put that into place.
Russ can make sure that we get that set up and have appropriate details for it.
Right, we talked about that?
Absolutely. We've almost said it a few times with the cruises, especially if there's snow on the road.
Okay.
So other than that, the roads have all been graded and put to bed for winter.
Bridge looks good still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's definitely a good patch job.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Thank you very much.
Hope it lasts for a while, too.
Oh, I talked with Dana today and about the letter of the gentleman on Long Street and to see where we were at with that, and he said that you folks weren't gonna sign that letter if I wanted to sign it and send it back, that, but what's the reasoning behind that? You're not gonna do that with me?
The recommendation or advice from council was that there was no need for the town to do this and have any involvement. or to deal with it. He just didn't think there was any issue that needed to be addressed by the letter.
Okay.
Or at least that's what I believe I was understanding
Yeah, I
from.
think so.
Yeah.
So what good does that do me?
Well, it's not your fault either.
Well-
That's,
Listen to me,
yes,
please. I'm sorry I was rude. I didn't mean to do that. I apologize. But where this gentleman is taking me to his property, and the water comes through the two town culverts and goes downstream and goes onto his land, and he has a concern that he's getting too much water and his pipe fills up and overflows and gonna blow his basement windows out. So if that happens in a year, and I haven't brought it to you guys' attention, where's that leave me in the, when something, if something does happen to his property, I've gotta follow through with it, and I do, so you're leaving me hanging.
So let me try on here, and please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from. However, the comment I would make is that you're not on the hook. Because neither you nor the town approved him putting it in, approved him adjusting and changing his drainage or any of these things.
Okay.
So if he put in permits to do that with DES and DES approved it, then DES would be on the hook, not us.
Okay,
If he didn't, he's on the hook for whatever he did to his own property.
okay.
And that's my understanding, the way it came across.
Right, I think the thing was, the letter to DES is what the attorney felt wasn't necessary.
Mhm.
Right,
Okay.
to DES.
No, I just wanted to do,
Mhm.
I just wanted to do things the way, whatever's, and that's, you guys are my boss.
So, but we definitely back you, but it was, came across, this isn't needed and probably would just stir more of a hornet's nest and cause more problems than it
Okay.
would solve, so.
Yeah, and who needs more problems?
yeah,
Exactly.
right.
So,
Now that we're getting older, we don't need
So,
any more problems.
Okay, so I just, was working on that, we're following up with Dana on that, and that's what you told me.
I probably didn't explain it to you very well.
Well, it's fine, it's fine.
so,
I just figured if it came from them, then I
Exactly.
can't
Yeah.
put you on the hook for later.
And I appreciate that.
yeah. So hopefully that makes sense as to the kind of thought process and what we got from the town's council.
Okay.
All right, anything further on roads?
I am good, are you
Any other
good?
questions for the
No,
roads?
you did a good job.
All right,
Well, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you very much, folks.
So that concludes the appointments. I know we have some folks that came in just a moment late that are on the appointments, and I do want to circle back to them. However, we have a few people that are waiting for something that I believe is going to be shorter. So I'd like to go ahead and move forward to the old business of town-owned property and the opening of bids.
This is for the property on Battle Street with the garage on it. There's your advance card. We have 2 bids.
With the garage on it?
Yeah,
It's the property with the
across from the
garage.
Fisher House.
Yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
it's the tiny plot that,
yeah.
It didn't go with the
Yeah.
original house.
It's the one they was keeping for the driveway permit.
They wouldn't let us do
that
it.
didn't work out that way, so, yep.
Would you like me to open the?
Yes, please.
I still got a car in that garage.
You did have,
The first bid, James and Deborah Knowlton. They are the owners of the house across the street, and their bid is $7,850. And the next bid is Karen Chakowski. And her bid was $5,000. And Karen's the property owner who's used to be her property.
Okay. Well, the minimum bid required was listed as 7,000 unless there's a typo on our
No, it's
additional.
7,000, which is taxes and expenses.
Mhm. So we have one qualified bid? Is that am I correct in that understanding?
You have one, it's over 7,000, that's 78.50, and the other's 5,000.
All right.
No one? Are those people here? Do we know? if
I
there's
believe
people
we've got both.
Um, I
Don't
don't,
look at me.
I don't
No,
see
I-
those. I
No.
don't
No,
see-
no,
Sorry.
nobody's
I
here?
don't, I don't see Deb, or, no. That's
Okay.
right.
No, I
Okay,
just wondered
yeah.
what they were gonna do with that property, what they were planning to do with that.
Well, that's,
Buy the garage and just take it away?
It's a very tiny little, it's only like
The-
0.23 of an acre.
But they can't, they couldn't put a house there in
they,
the
they
garage.
could use it for the existing way that it has been used.
Oh, yeah.
Or if I were them, I would have done it because there's a access easement that's associated with it for the river, for the property across the street to be able to access the river. And so the giving of that property was part of that. And if you remember, that's why we said we were gonna put it up for bid instead
Yeah.
of just
Yeah, just get.
trying
yeah,
to
right.
do it, because if we just gave it to one party, then we would be getting involved with changing what the agreements were on the easements and if they'd ever be able to change that back.
Yeah,
So-
yeah. Oh, okay, that's, I just was wondering.
So, do you wanna make the motion for the highest acceptable bid? Or do you want me to?
It's up to you, whatever you wanna do,
Oh,
sir.
go for
You're the
it.
boss. Want me to do it?
Sure.
All right, so I would,
Or do you have any other comments before we do that, I should say?
no, not really, not really. I mean, it's the only bid, unless you wanna go out and put it on for bid again, but I don't think that would be.
We have a bid that met the
Right, met the
required specs.
requirements, and the other one doesn't, so I would think that the bidders, James L. and Deborah K. Knowlton, of 516 Farmington Corner Road, Hopkinton, New Hampshire, would be the winning bidders, and we would give them the property with the deed.
Mhm.
So, anyway, that's what I would say.
Okay, so do you wanna make the motion, or?
Oh,
do
yeah,
you
that's
want
what I
me
thought it was making a
Oh,
motion,
okay.
sure. Russ will get it as a motion, Dana will get it as a motion, okay.
So my understanding then is that your motion is to approve the sale to the highest qualified
Right.
bidder.
Right, $7,850.
So then I would second that.
Okay,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay. And with that, I'll quickly ask folks over on the left here, is there a particular portion of the agenda that you are waiting for? No, okay. Then, would you like to circle back to our appointment at this time?
Sure.
Okay, so Tara and John, please come on up. You weren't here when we first started, but now
Where's my
you are.
microphone? Yep.
You brought it with you.
So we have you listed for project status. I believe there was a comment about budget as well, but unfortunately, we have no details
Oh,
on
no,
what you were
it-
looking
it's-
for, so.
It's a fairly easy, it was on your last, the last minutes of, the last,
Minutes, okay,
yeah, it's on the minutes of the last selectmen meeting.
okay,
My question about the budget.
sure.
And I did tell him, it's kind of hard to explain what we were on to talk about, because it was budget and this and et cetera, so but I'll let John go first, his is short.
Sure,
Yep.
I'll simply add that normally we need more details when we're
No.
adding to an agenda. So maybe in the future, if you wanna write it as a letter or something,
Yeah,
and,
that's-
and also
and
put
give you a
yourself on the
heads up.
agenda, then we can more easily have everything in front of us to hand you or
Okay,
et
some
cetera.
of these are really short and sweet.
That's fine, that's fine.
I'd like to, talk about the 91A that I had sent to you folks on November 27th. I would like to put in a 91A for the following information regarding an anonymous complaint put to the Board of Selectmen. I would like a copy of the actual complaint, not name, pertaining to a problem supposedly claiming that I have a second driveway on White Plains Road as told to me by Russell Tatro when I was in the town hall. This had been told to Tara Gunnigal a few days earlier by Mr. Tatro, who asked her to reply the information to me. My reply from you was, it was taken verbally at the town hall. I would like to know the name of the person who took this complaint.
They took
That
the
was you,
complaint.
yeah,
It was a phone call.
Who took it?
Russ.
Russell.
Yeah, it was a phone call.
Russ took the phone call. I would also suggest that you are completely entitled to 91As, but those are to be letters or emails, not
They were,
here.
You are.
Yeah, it was a letter.
they were,
Okay.
we sent letters and we got a response.
Yeah.
That's what I just said, my reply from you.
Well, but you said you were also submitting a new one there, and so I don't
No.
know
Oh,
if
no,
you were
that was,
reading that or.
that was the original
Okay,
91A
thank you.
that he put in.
That was my 91A, and it said my reply from you was,
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that clarification.
Sure.
let me find my place here. Did the board accept this complaint?
If I remember correctly, that went through the planning board,
Right.
and the planning board recommended that we,
It goes to the
Go
planning
forward.
board, because the planning board handles driveways.
correct.
You mean to tell me the Board of Selectmen does not look at this complaint?
They did after the planning board recommended it to the select board.
So how does this go verbally? If this was not in writing, it goes, excuse me, please, let me finish, please.
Certainly.
So it goes from word, from mouth to mouth, third hand, fourth hand, nothing in writing. So how many hands does this go down the line?
So are you asking the process?
No, it's how many times does this change wording from words to words, from the first complainant to Russell to the planning board? How many times does different words get changed in this complaint?
Never.
Before, how do you know this?
So,
Did you hear it?
so the complaint would.
Did you hear this complaint?
No, but we.
How
have-
many times did
It's
it get to
written
you
down.
before it got to you?
It's written down as a signed, like, it's signed
Oh,
that
it's
this
not
came
signed.
through.
It was never
Because-
Well,
written.
sorry, it would be written by
I
Russ
typed it
that
up.
this is what came in.
That
That
he
complaint
says,
goes through.
that he says that this person said.
Okay, so let me address the process for you. When a complaint comes in, anonymous or not, it will go on to a complaint form for, in this case, zoning and code enforcement. At that point, it would normally request that the person in charge of that go out and inspect it. And whether that is Tom or a road agent or a driveway person from the planning board, they would go out and inspect it. Because this is all under the purview of the planning board, it then goes to the planning board to decide what they want to recommend should be done. Whether that's a letter that gets sent, whether that's recommending enforcement action, or whether that's recommending that nothing needs to happen. At that point in time, then we, as the select board, got that recommendation from the planning board and said we would like to follow the recommendation of the planning board because they have researched it.
Okay. Number two, does the planning board, select board, do they have a town policy of anonymous complaints?
We have I don't know if it's even a policy, but
No.
complaints are always allowed to come in.
I do believe, I have seen in the past, you do have a town policy on anonymous complaints.
You might. I know we have a form. But I will simply refer to Russ because he will have all of that because he's got the forms and everything down in his office for anyone to write on. And even if they come in and write, they don't have to put their names on it.
Right. This was something we asked the town attorney when we were creating the form.
Yeah.
And I myself did not want anonymous complaints, but I was overvoted by the town attorney. And so we have to take.
I know I have seen it on a computer in the past,
Yeah.
Interesting.
and it used to be, it had to be signed.
Yes. We did used
In
to have.
writing?
We did used to have that policy. And.
Or
when
by
we were-
email.
And when everything was going through, we were told that as we were updating forms, we couldn't deny anonymous complaints. We had to accept them.
And we know that, but I could call up and say, hey, I'm complaining about somebody down the road, but I don't wanna let you know who I am. Did the person tell you their name?
And you could absolutely
I don't want
do
the
that.
name.
You could absolutely do that.
Yes, I know who the person is.
Do you really? Because they called.
Yes, I really know who it
Because
is.
I have had 3 anonymous complaints on me this summer. I feel I am being harassed. I have had the state come in for dog checks. I had to bring my dog out for them to look at the well-being of my dog. And they go, there's no welfare check on this dog. I said, you gonna fine me because he's too fat? I feel I'm being harassed in this town by somebody. This Board of Selectmen does not have to accept anonymous complaints.
by phone.
They don't have to.
We were told by the attorney we do.
By law, you don't have to.
But not by phone.
When I get 3, and they come and look at my dogs and say, there's nothing wrong with this dog.
Have we had anything to do with any other complaints other than the driveway?
Or, not that I know
Regarding
of.
Mr. Pearson?
I don't know if that
Came through
goes
my
to the
office.
police department.
It doesn't come to us, but we handle.
They
we-
told me that the
We
dog,
cover every single complaint that comes in, whether it's anonymous or not, we look up. So if somebody called us, John, and said they had a
they told me that,
question about your dog, we would come check on your dog.
they told me the police department sent them out.
No.
That's what they told me.
We sent who out?
It was, I don't know if SPCA or who they were, or somebody on that
If we
line.
sent, if we call the SPCA for a dog check, we go with them.
Well, they
And
come out,
and we do it all the time.
welfare check. So this is the 3rd anonymous complaint I've had, and to be honest with you, feel I'm being harassed by somebody. I don't know who. But I want that on file and on record. So I'll go to the next step. Did this board send Emmett Bean, our road agent, to White Plains Road to investigate a second driveway
On White Plains Road.
on White Plains Road?
This board has not sent anybody to investigate driveways.
I suggest that you think about this again.
It happened at a selectman meeting.
You did it at a selectman meeting. I will ask Mr. Bean if he did go to White Plains Road,
this-
because he made this statement at a
It
selectman
was
meeting.
a couple months ago.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
I am speaking, please let me finish. He did make a statement, I went to White Plains Road, there is a cut through the woods to White Plains Road. So I will ask again, did your select board send Mr. Bean as road agent to White Plains Road to check for a driveway on
We'd
White
have to
Plains
check the
Road?
minutes, but I remember something about asking about there.
Yeah,
I
and I
remember
can't find it in
something
the minutes.
asking about it, yeah, but I don't know.
You told
that
me
we
that the
asked.
complaint was on White Plains Road.
About a driveway.
Yeah,
I will simply point out that there are several complaints about driveway things all the time, in all kinds of places, but
Yeah.
we would have to look at the minutes. I don't remember
not in the minutes.
specifically asking Emmett to look at it. We may have when
I
looking
mean,
at
I
the stuff.
remember asking Emmett about it, and I thought it was on White Plains, but Emmett told me it was on Bridge House Road.
It has been changed to Bridge House Road, yes.
Yeah.
But he stated in a selectman meeting right here, he went to White Plains Road.
And said,
Well, if I stated that, I'd like to see it, because I sure don't recall it.
no,
I'd
you
like-
had said there's a cut in the road where your tractor went through.
On White
Cut in the
Plains Road.
woods.
I got
Well,
two
we'll-
witnesses
We'll-
that sat
we'll
at
go
this
look at
meeting
the-
in it.
We'll go
No.
look at the minutes and
It's
see
not
what we
in the
find.
minutes.
Well, it's
I have
also, we
nothing
have
to
to
do with the
record
state
it.
road,
I went
John.
back to May.
That's what I told him, that he has no right on a state road.
Other than if it goes uphill and it has to do with the firehouse, that's the only way.
And after I
it's
made
on
that
the state
comment,
road.
there has no right on a state road.
So I don't know who told you what, that I said that, but if I did, I don't recall it, and I'd like to see it on tape, because somebody's filling your pocket full of,
I got two witnesses that was at that meeting right here, Emmett, that are willing to put it in writing.
good, have them, because
If
I
you can
never
give us
went
the
over
time,
on,
if you can give us
I
exactly
never went
which
over on the
meeting,
White
I'll
Plains
pull
Road and
the-
checked out
Don't know.
any
It's not in
driveway,
the
because
minutes.
I know,
I went,
I knew
Well,
it
you
wasn't
said you
on the
have
White
witnesses
Plains
that were
Road.
there
Not
at the meeting.
they're
stupid.
here today.
So, which
We
is,
never, we hardly
which is
have two
fine.
more people than
If you-
we've had at a meeting
It's great.
yeah, I love it.
So if
We
you,
usually
if
get,
you
we get
give
one
us
or
that
two.
meeting date,
Yeah,
we
we
can
can
pull,
look
we
it
I
up.
don't
can
want
pull
you
the
to be
video.
low.
I can't find the date because there's
I
no
gotta
minutes
check
on
in
it.
every so often.
A lot of minutes
If you
are
have
headed.
witnesses saying they were at that particular meeting, that this was stated, then they know which particular meeting, because that's what they're agreeing to you with. And so we need to know which meeting, we'll pull the video and see what everything was actually said, and there will be no questions at that point.
Because I'll be honest with you, I don't ever remember even speaking about a driveway with Mr. Pearson in the select board meeting.
I know
I
you
didn't
talked to me
discuss
in
it
my
with you.
office. but
No,
that's-
you said I discussed it with these folks. You got two witnesses, you just said. You got
They
two
heard it.
witnesses
They heard it.
that heard me say that. And I never talked about any driveway with
No.
John Pearson or any of these
You
folks.
did not talk to me.
About your driveway.
They asked if you went to check out
No.
on White Plains Road on
No.
this.
No, because I
That-
knew the
that's
illegal
okay,
driveway
we'll-
wasn't on White Plains Road. I
We'll
knew it
figure
was
out
on
with the
Bridge
video.
House.
We'll figure it out with the video.
No, that's where the complaint was, and I asked for 91A on White Plains Road, and that was the response I got back, nothing in writing, it was verbal. So right there on his 91A, they are admitting the complaint was on White Plains Road by their own 91A.
Well,
So-
they must have screwed up then, John.
So that-
Everything they've done is screwed up, Emmett.
So let me try to fast forward for you here, and let me ask, what is it that you're trying to have happen? Because whether there was a misreporting or not, or,
By his-
et cetera,
By his own 91A,
What-
he is admitting, by his
Whether-
own 91A.
Can I finish, please? Whether any of that is completely 100% the way that you would have hoped that it would get reported or not. It sounds like you have had an action that we as a board have agreed upon after the planning board's investigation to submit, because as we said, the same rules apply to everybody in town, no matter who it is, whether it's you, me, or
Yeah,
somebody else.
I agree with that.
And so that's why that letter was signed as recommended by the planning board to go out as an enforcement action. Regardless of how we got to that point, because anybody, complaint or not, can initiate that process. What is it that you're trying to get
Well,
or trying to adjust?
now it's changed from a second driveway permit to a third driveway permit.
On Bridge House Road, well,
So it's gone from a complaint on White Plains Road for a second driveway permit to now a third driveway permit on Bridge House Road.
Okay.
we're thinking of going to the planning board because.
Oh, I'm gonna be going to the planning board as well, but that's another whole step, because that itself is all messed up.
So, again,
So I'm gonna
we went by
be
the
making,
recommendations of the planning board after they went through code and investigations.
Yep.
The big complaint here tonight is the fact that it came over the phone, because they're supposed to be written or emailed. It has to be.
Not required.
I've seen that policy.
And I have too. How can you take a random phone call?
We were told that we must allow the anonymous
Well,
complaints.
okay, so how come that complaint came in May and we didn't find out about it until last month?
Because there were
Other
obviously
things.
planning board and
Planning board
meetings,
went to look at it
and there were
weeks ago.
additional code enforcement, et cetera, that everything went through in the
How come
process.
nobody ever spoke to the owner of the property?
That's not
I believe
normally
you said that I
how
did speak to you.
complaints are handled. but-
I came in the town hall, you said, oh, we got a complaint about John's driveway. And I said, and you said, could you please relay it to him? I
Right.
said, yes, and I did, and he came in, and you said there was a complaint about the driveway, and that's
On
what.
White
That's what he
Plains Road.
said,
Right.
on White Plains Road. And that was the end that we heard of it, until 2 weeks ago.
But it's the ongoing same complaint.
But the planning board said that they went out, I have it, I watched the video,
Right.
and I have it word for word, that Paul said that he went out, spoke to the owner was adamant that he's not gonna do anything about it. He didn't speak to anybody.
I never saw him,
We don't even know where a third driveway is.
and I never spoke to the man, never
So-
saw him, but he said that he talked to me.
And then
I
it came
didn't.
to you.
So I will simply state that we can't deal with something of the nature of you versus Paul.
Okay, so this,
But
we'll go
the
back to
planning
the
board
planning board.
is the appropriate place for you to ask more
So
about
these
how
are the
this got
issues
there.
that I'm dealing with. There's a lot of unfactual facts that are not true.
There's a lot more we
Well,
won't
then
go
that
into.
can all
it.
get
And there's
corrected.
a lot more coming that I'm not prepared to talk about at this point, and most of them are planning board.
Okay. Well, that-
And I
then the
would
planning
really
board
like
would
it
be
if
the
you
place
get
to
the
address-
name, the
address that.
dates of when I was supposed to say this, that I went out and checked the road out, because I wanna,
I got two witnesses, one's willing to put it in writing and send it to the board.
all I want's the dates, and I'll look it
And
up
we can't
myself.
find the dates because it's not, I went all the way back to May and April
Well,
in
they would have
the
to-
minutes.
They would have to
and
witness
it's
when they
not in
said
the
they were
minutes.
here, so that would tell us.
I know, but there's a lot of things that aren't in the minutes, and that was kind of a
It doesn't
minuscule
matter, the
thing.
tape, that's going around right now, you don't need the minutes.
Well,
Just, I'll go find the tape, because it's whoever's telling you that's crap.
But let's,
I heard
let's
it.
let's
Call
not
me a liar
further.
if you want.
I'm not calling you a liar, I don't, the people that are telling you.
No,
When
they
further
were sitting here and heard it
documentation comes,
themselves.
we'll
You
be
didn't
able to
hear
pull the
it.
tape
did.
and then.
You
we
were
can go
here?
from there.
Yes.
okay,
So what else
Don't
can we
believe so.
assist you with?
he's done,
I'm done.
yeah.
Thank you much for your time.
The,
But like you did, I heard, make sure you heard this, that I feel like I'm being harassed. I
can
want that on
completely
file.
understand why
I
you
want
would-
that on
why you would
file.
feel harassed. if
I
you
want
had
that on file,
3
because
or
if this
more
continues
complaints coming.
on anonymous complaints, this is my last statement. Therefore, I will be filing another 91A for the other 2 anonymous complaints. At this time, I have not decided how I will move forward with this.
perfectly reasonable.
Okay. Couple things, real quick. The hill from the library that comes down to the paved, that's washing away.
Yes.
Years ago, and I know you know it, years ago I said we needed to do something about it, so if it's, that's, I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, I'm guessing. So bulkhead.
Salesman from Mitchie Corp is coming out to give us a
Okay.
cost on what it's gonna cost to put a retaining wall up there. I've been dealing with that, been waiting for him to get back to me now for over a
I mean,
month.
I don't know everything, I'm just
It is a
bringing
project
up.
we're currently working on.
Okay, and that's fine. Problem with the assessors that are going around assessing the houses,
Okay.
you know, I don't even know who they are. But somebody came in my driveway, a month and a half ago, maybe two, and just started walking around, and I went out and I said, "Excuse me, who are you?" "Oh, I'm the assessor." I said, "Where's your magnet on the car?" "Oh, I don't need one." Well, I beg to differ, because I went through this years ago when we had a different assessor. They were going around with no magnets on their cars, and people were getting upset about this car sitting on the side of the road and driving in driveways when no one's home. He never showed me an ID, nothing. And I said, "I really think you need to leave." And he did. And then I find out a neighbor who had added something to her house, she walked out as the guy was taking pictures all around her house. Nothing on the car, no ID, nothing. So he really just needs to get
And she was
some kind
very
of
upset.
identification.
She was
I thought-
very upset with this person just out there. She just happened to get up, look out the window, and
She's
this
a
guy's
widow.
out there
She's-
walking around outside the
I
don't
wouldn't
house.
hold
blame
on.
her,
Yeah.
that's not
That's not good.
part of our contract with them, so I'm glad you told us,
And
because
he's
that is
refusing
not
it, he has to have one.
acceptable.
No, right, you
yeah.
should
Yeah.
have something.
So-
Yeah.
I believe we covered before that when they're supposed to be coming out,
They're supposed to
inform us.
Let
we
me
can
know so I
post
can
it.
put a notification on the website, and they're supposed to let me know what vehicle they're driving and who's out there so we can inform the police.
And I got a little upset with him. I told me he had to leave. Get,
Yeah,
And
I
that sounds
I
completely
agree
within
with
your rights.
We will,
We'll call.
work with that.
cause he got a little huffy.
He did. I wanted to bring it up again, because it's not a dead story, about Bruce Johnson's deed, because it is an illegal deed. It's a warranty deed, which the town doesn't give. And this got brought up again because the Attorney General called me in the middle of October, and he said he was investigating Leslie Palmer, the notary, because she signed it twice. And I don't know if she's lost her notary or not, but it's a warranty deed. It was done behind closed doors, which we all know, that's old news. But we need to think about doing something with that deed, because that's not a warranty deed. It has the wrong transfer tax on it. It had a notary sign it twice.
So to not try to rehash too many things.
Right.
But one of the things that came out of the previous stuff was that when a deed goes out and gets signed, whether that was our policy or not, it was signed by the board and the purchaser, and so that is not something that we can change.
The person that bought the property wrote the policy and signed it.
I'm
What
not
did-
disagreeing with that. However, that's the way it was written, the way it was signed, the way it was enacted.
Well, it's illegally signed by the notary twice. So that's not a
The-
valid deed.
We've gone through that several times as well, and all of the things that we have gotten back at the time, and of course, we haven't been talking about it recently,
Right.
but at the time, was that it is not best practice to both notarize and witness.
Yeah.
But she was not notarizing herself as a witness, she was only
Yes,
notarizing
she
the
was.
board. And so.
How do you prove that?
So that's what we were told from legal advice from our previous town's council.
Okay, because I went to
And
Secretary of
so-
State, who
And
was
and
not
so,
Attorney General.
when the when the county, was it the county Attorney General that did it initially?
County attorney.
Whoever did the last one, when they looked into it, they were gonna also look at that as well. And so they've gone through their process of that, and they've referred it to whoever they've referred it to. At this point in time, as far as a legal or illegal deed, That will be whatever comes out of the Attorney General's investigation, has nothing to do with us.
Okay.
If it comes back as an illegal deed and must be canceled, nullified, whatever, then that puts us into a situation where there might be something that we could go forward with.
The only reason we're bringing this
But-
up is
but
because the
until then,
Attorney
it's-
General has
it's-
contacted us just recently. And
Uh,
he stated this is illegal, and they're going after Leslie Palmer.
So
And we're
I
wondering
have
if
been-
they had contacted the board.
I have been called by them simply to be informed that there was an investigation that was going to happen and to ask me if I knew of any contacts that were still within town. I told them that information and I have never heard anything else since. I've also I mentioned that at the time to the board and the folks here, just so that they were aware that it was happening. The Attorney General is going to do what the Attorney General is going to do, and has nothing to do with us as a board. We do not control it, we did not request it, we don't have anything to say about it, other than they will or will not decide to do something with Leslie, and then to invalidate or continue to approve the things that she has signed off on. That is entirely them.
I remember when,
Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, the board has a lot of say in that as well.
We have no say on it because it's
Yeah, you
already
do.
a signed legal
previous
document.
board too.
Yeah, you
It's a
do.
previous board and a signed legal document.
Now, when we were discussing this back then, there were a lot of people in town that wanted to get the $7,000, wanted to give the $7,000 back and get the property back. But you said that $7,000 was town money, and would have to go on the warrant, and it doesn't. That's a complete separate thing. So we lost a lot of time because you had thought because the townspeople would have to vote on giving that money back, which is not true. That was a different.
So the town has to vote to purchase property.
But they don't have to vote.
And it was offered back as a sale back to to us.
Correct,
But
and we
that's-
should have taken it, because it was an illegal transaction. That's why it
This
was
is
offered back.
old rehashing, it's all been
I
covered.
understand,
And
but-
all of the legalities and stuff have been
The
published,
people would
so.
like that property back to the town
So it is-
and give the $7,000. Okay. I wanted to talk about, my question about the budget is the 6% across the board for cost of living.
Okay.
Where does that number come from?
So I assume you're talking about the budget that's currently been proposed to us?
Yes, it was in the
So,
minutes.
so right now, what has happened with the budget is we have been taking all of the suggested and proposed budgets from each of the boards, committee, and departments. And that's all going into the spreadsheet as their proposed budgets. We will be having, originally scheduled for, I think, tomorrow, a work session to go over that budget and see what we do or don't agree with, what we might request be changed or not. And was also to go over the CIP reports, but we don't, we were expecting to have that today, but we don't. So that may have to be delayed, as well as having a member that may or may not be able to make it tomorrow, since they couldn't make it today. However, all of those are proposed numbers that have come in from various departments. I would simply suggest that with the national inflation and cost of living that is generally in the 8% plus, depending on which numbers you're looking at, that most of the departments have felt that the 6% was reasonable comparative to that. However, I would simply also suggest that it's, whether you call it a cost of living or another kind of raise, or you're justifying it in one way or another, it's really not that much different than the standard customary either 2 or 3% that you've normally seen in previous budgets, which has normally been 3% when cost of living basically wasn't going up.
It's been a long time since I've seen a 3%. They've been four or higher, a lot higher. I've got the copies.
Okay.
Going back
Well,
to 2015. But,
So- So those are the comments that I would make there.
Okay.
In that right now, nothing is a finalized budget.
Oh, I understand that.
It's simply
I
what's
just wanted
being
to ask
requested.
where the number
But-
came from. And the other thing I wanted to talk about, I know you're gonna have a budget hearing, but I think we really need to concentrate on the needs of the town rather than the wants. I mean, I had heard something about a cell tower. We were talking a little bit about it.
Mhm.
We need desperately, it's been going on for a long time, nobody knows better than Emmett, salt shed, Clothespin Bridge, Knights Meadow Bridge. It's been going on for a long time. We've lost thousands and thousands of dollars on engineering and improper everything because the right homework wasn't done. Emmett is pulling his hair out because, you know, I can't even imagine the stress. But
So,
these are the real needs, and we need to tighten our belts and stop, you know, no more lights here or something like that there. We need to get these things done for, number one, all the townspeople, number two, the safety of the town. I mean, you never know what's gonna happen. We've just gotta really tighten up everything.
so thank you for bringing that up. It's actually something that I forgot that I normally try to do at the beginning of the department head stuff, and that's a project status.
Right.
And
That's-
I
yeah,
don't
that's-
have anything on the screen. It should be on the website if anyone wants to open it up and go look. We put them up there. So White Plains Bridge, up until today, we've gotten through the DES approval, and we were awaiting Fish and Game approval, and that we were just informed today that that has now gone through. So, there should be a meeting coming up, with the culvert company and Emmett and the engineer to make sure that everything is in a row and is ready, so that we can then order that culvert and be ready to go as soon as it can get produced and get here for the appropriate weather to do so.
Right.
So we are very happy to report that while it's unfortunate that it has taken this long and a couple different engineers, we are moving forward with it and we expect that it will be happening this coming year. I know you've heard that before,
Oh,
but,
yeah, and I know,
but we're certainly doing everything we can to make that
I
happen.
know the red tape.
Clothespin Bridge, I'm sure, since you mentioned that one as well, I'm sure you've seen it. It's got nice paving over the top of it to help hold it together for as long as we can. Unfortunately, it did get that delay again, so that it's now at a 2024 expected construction start. However, the good news there is the reason for the delay, which is because the federal government got involved. And so, of course, with more government, everything is slower. So now we have us, the state and the federal government involved in our bridge. The good news there is that now, because of the federal and state governments both being involved with it, with the exception of paying the engineering firm, we don't have to pay for the bridge. It's 100% covered now by the state and the federal governments.
So do we pay for engineering?
We are paying for the engineering of that. And so, on the status, there's some training that our town admin will be going through towards, managing federal project stuff, to make sure that all of the appropriate i's and t's are dotted and crossed. Their VHB, who are our engineers, starting in, I think it was September, but don't quote me on that, through whenever they complete it, they are the ones that will be dealing with the right-of-way and temporary construction easement, et cetera, negotiations with abutters. As far as I'm aware, they've gone out and done some assessing, but haven't yet contacted abutters, which disappoints me, but they have a process and they're following it based on what they're told they have to do for the federal and state guidelines. And then the construction bids should open for that next year. So they will be preparing and putting out that bid spec to do that. And that's why we don't really expect it to maybe some miracle happens and steel and everything is available immediately and no one's doing work.
Right.
So they could do it next year, but chances are it'll be a 2024 construction for that bridge.
I'd like to interject one thing. White
Yes.
Plains Bridge was not the selectmen's fault.
Oh,
It
I
was the
know.
fault of somebody that didn't do their job.
I-
And no matter how, when they
know.
couldn't even talk to you via telephone,
Mm-hmm.
you know, Zoom or anything, and if I could learn it, they could learn it, she want nothing to do
I
with it, so.
disagree with you on that,
And so that was not out of
It
our
was
control.
Previous boards.
disagree with you. It is up to the Board of Selectmen to oversee, especially not even having a contract with that engineer, not
found that
overseeing the work.
Yeah.
That is up to the Board of Selectmen to oversee the projects of this town.
And that's why we have now corrected it.
That's right, because this
So it is the
this
Board of
person
Selectmen's
did not
fault.
even return our calls or anything. You
I
can't, you know, you
believe-
can
yeah.
take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
So the previous board should have got rid of her when she did Clothespin Bridge the first time. And $250,000 went down the river,
So-
and we gotta pay all over again.
So I don't
Not
wanna
paying
go
her.
rehash those, but
Yes.
we are very happy to say that, yes, we are moving forward and
Then
we've
you guys
managed to
should finally
continue
get rid
doing
of her.
that.
Good job.
You also mentioned
What
the,
I wanted to say about the engineer is our board right now is trying to heal the mistakes of the past so we don't hinder the future.
yes,
This is exactly what's happening. And it's hard and expensive to heal the past.
this is true. Regarding the sand shed, yes, that has been an ongoing thing as well. That had been delayed for a number of reasons, including various permits and so on and so forth, and going back and forth with the state on driveway permits and possibilities and different access routes, and whether there should or should not be engineering, et cetera. So there is long history there. We have been making progress on that. And so right now, we are in a state where there is a secondary driveway waiver process that we have been investigating, and that may or may not be required depending on how other abutter discussions go with being able to take over a different driveway cut. So we'll see what happens there, but that's where we are right now. My personal hope is that we can get that resolved sometime throughout the winter, so that come spring and summer, when the weather is most appropriate to do the work, which may or may not be spring or summer, depending on how wet it gets, but whenever the weather is the most appropriate, I want us to be able to do the work. But we now have the property, we have at least a basic access to the area, and we do have funds to get the driveway and access in place, which is the next step, and we're actively pursuing trying to do that.
Okay, I know it's a huge process. Last but not least, but this is, in going through a lot of the website the other day, I noticed that the Conservation Commission, that Chris Shadler and her husband are both on there. Isn't that a conflict of interest?
No.
Why?
Having two people on a board is not a conflict of interest.
They can talk about it 24 hours a day, and then you have two votes.
So there is definitely a possibility of an outside issue that was specifically mentioned to the husband when he was going on. And to our knowledge, anything that is there is being discussed in public. So obviously something probably happens, like I'm interested in this or whatever. But as long as any reasons for decisions and discussions about the topics are done with the whole commission and in that public setting, it's perfectly fine and legal.
Hey, buddy. Good.
It's different than if it were employees.
No, I know that.
So-
It's, yeah, nepotism.
And I will simply beleaguer the point by, it was once joked that since no one was coming up for select board, that maybe my wife should run. And we joked about it, just because it was funny, not because we would ever do
No, I
that.
know.
But that's actually legal.
It is?
It is. We would just have to say that we would only discuss stuff in public.
And that's impossible.
And I'm not saying that we would do that, because we think that's silly, but completely legal.
What is the RSA on that?
I'm stunned.
And we asked that, I actually asked a similar question because a similar joke came up at an NHMA thing, so
Yeah.
that was NHMA lawyers.
Wow.
So we have a husband that was gonna do
It is.
the chair of our association, and his wife was going to run for secretary of the association, and one of them had to step down because somebody in the meeting brought this up on whatever's, that a husband and a wife in a association, I'm not saying that it's illegal, but it's not the right thing to do, and it wasn't done, and that's our little association at the fire department. I wasn't at the meeting, so I don't know the whole details, but I did ask a couple of questions why the names were changed around, and that's what I was, in the person.
Yeah, so one of the things that I would state there in their defense would be that most of the decisions that would be made by something like the Conservation Commission would be, where do we want to volunteer our time to go work on something? Versus, say, sitting here or in the association, where are we gonna go spend a lot of the town's money?
No,
It's
I'm
not
not
Now,
saying
they
anything about
do have a
spending money.
budget.
It's not
and-
limited to that.
And so on, and there's, again, I'm not saying that there's limitations here, but my point and my defense for them would be that if you think there is an actual problem and that you are seeing that there is an issue there, whether it's at a meeting or in minutes where there's no description or discussion, et cetera, then that absolutely should be addressed. But if they are having their discussions in public at the meetings about the topics that are there, then
I just know that,
the perception is not good,
But the other,
certainly.
right, that's what I think, but how many husbands and wives don't even agree on anything, so.
oh, I know, and they're both very strong personalities,
And,
and very strong in their beliefs. And
don't care about that.
I know Chris had caused some problems in the past with, she wanted to walk on people's properties to check out the water and didn't want cattle to go near a stream or a pond. And
Walking on my wood lot
But-
while I'm working.
but,
So,
yeah,
that was put to rest, I think, but I just, I don't think I think it's a conflict of interest, and I know it's hard to get people on committees,
That's exactly the case.
yeah.
and one of the reasons that he stated that he wanted to go do it was, for a particular set of projects that they are working on, that they were requesting help as the Conservation Commission for, which was resuscitation and repair of the various trails that the Conservation Commission manages to allow for trans folks to have
Then you
access
can
to.
just volunteer.
So, but that is something that you should take up with them at the Conservation Committee. Because the chair would be the one that
Right.
should take care of that first.
All right,
I got one more question on the road up there for the salt shed. I was hoping Emmett was still
Yeah,
here.
he just got called.
I know, a little late, dragged that one on too long.
yep, sorry, oh,
But I understand, I heard some of this from one of the members that was on the salt shed committee, and some of this may be just rumors. So I'm looking for a little bit of clarification here as well.
Sure.
As I understand, there was maybe one or two engineers hired to do the drainage work for that roadway up in there. but they wouldn't guarantee their work, and they wanted Emmett to put the drainage in, but him to take the liability of it?
So this was this was a long discussion with the report as it came from the sand shed, salt shed, whatever committee, when it was being brought to the select board at the time. They had several, either 3 or, I think they requested 5 and got 3, but don't quote me on that, different engineers to give them quotes of what would be involved and what they would or would not cover when they did it.
Yeah.
To my knowledge, none of them were ever hired or paid. It was simply a quote and this is what we want to provide for services. And you are correct in stating that they wanted to engineer the product but not guarantee it. And that was one of the reasons that the select board of the time said we don't want to hire them.
And I've also been told that Chris Shadler was, I believe she was selectman at the time, but it doesn't really matter, but she was involved pretty heavy in buying that piece of land and getting it surveyed and everything else. But they didn't buy really land enough to put that road up in there, and it really not wide enough to put a sufficient road up in there. I've been told this by one of the committee members. And there's some issues there. Is that true? Not really to get the right
What-
slope and everything else.
What I can state
And
there.
Emmett was actually almost getting into the other guy's property to
So-
get an actual good slope and everything else.
So
And
what I
that's
can-
why the road stopped. Is
So-
that true?
So what I can state there is that the existing access road that goes up there was there and was cleaned out by Emmett after the purchase to be able to access the property more effectively. In order to use that existing access route, it is believed that there may be a requirement for additional footage on the side for the purpose of drainage.
Because-
And not having drainage onto somebody's property. That may or may not be fully required. It could be that there are other changes and other options. But that is my current understanding of that situation. Hopefully, none of that matters because we won't be using that once we have the second cut and the other driveway location and so forth. So to say that more was required or is not would be a really hard ask to say, looking in hindsight, whether it is or is not.
Well, I was told by one of the.
Because it can go in a couple different ways.
Because I was told-
There are certainly concerns about it, but whether or not they had the same concerns then or thought it was gonna go a different route, I couldn't tell you.
Because I was told by one of
I
the.
can also say though, to your other point, that at the time, it was definitely Chris that was championing that and that particular piece of property along with the rest of the committee, the sand shed, salt shed committee. And that was how that was being pushed forward by that committee, and they were really happy to finally have that access to that land that they had originally looked at but not gotten at some point. And I apologize because I wasn't on those committees, so I don't know the full history of it, other than that they got the land that they wanted the most, and we currently own it. And so we can make the best use of it at this time.
Because I was told by one of the committee members that Chris Shadler was in the big part of getting it surveyed.
Well, it would have been surveyed
Well-
as part of the purchase.
Well, had to get it subdivided and get it surveyed to get that driveway up in there. But they didn't buy enough land, and they went back to try to buy more land, and they wouldn't sell them more.
So that's not quite accurate.
Well, it's either
the-
accurate or it ain't quite accurate. I mean, either
The-
they did or they didn't.
Well, so the Like I said, the existing access path
Is that the one on the left?
is on the left, and that was already there.
Yeah.
It was cleaned up by Emmett for the access once we purchased it, but that was there. So it's not like we bought the property and then put it in and then said, oh, well, that's not great. Like, that's not the way that the timeline goes,
So they didn't try to go buy a little bit more land for that road?
It probably was not believed that they needed to at the time. You could go back and look at their minutes and see what they discussed and what
Well,
the
that's what-
engineers expected.
That's what I was told by one of the members of the committee, and they wouldn't sell it to them.
I won't try to speak for any of the members of the committee, because I'm not on it.
Well, I would think the committee would have to come to the board to try to get the right to spend the money.
Well, when they purchased the property, I'm sure they would have.
Well, I
And
wouldn't-
I wasn't on the board then.
I wouldn't think they would, I won't think they would go offer money without having the right to purchase it.
Well, again, that would have been whatever the board at the time had made the decisions for and so on.
Right?
Thank you for our little bit of time.
I'm sure you guys pull your hair out when I walk in.
We like trying to answer the questions. It's a
Because a lot of
good
us, we
challenge. It
just,
makes us think.
you know, you have to do your homework and get answers.
I hope I kept my
And-
cool pretty good
And
tonight.
I hope I have enough to be able to answer things
No,
satisfactorily.
it
but,
was very informative.
Sometimes I'm sorry, you'll have to get more documentation from them.
I will.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any further questions or comments? Okay.
I don't know if anybody else has, in the audience has something to say. Or we go to the audience.
That's why I had asked beforehand if they were waiting for any particular agenda item, because I wanted to make sure we got to it if they were. All right, so that will move us back into our old business, which the next is perambulation with Salisbury.
This was just to update you. I think you know that Marlo did go over on the, I think it was the 27th of November, and she met with Mr. Herbert, who was a selectman in Salisbury, and they went and found the monuments on our border. And Mr. Herbert wrote up a report on it, which we will file in the records. And also, I didn't know if you'd like to see any photos, but he made some photos, and some nice rocks and trees there.
Oh, gee.
that I think
Yeah, so
Never
that's,
seen
that's
it.
where they found each of them, so
Oh,
you'll see
okay,
like a
that's-
marking on
was
a
that?
rock or the signage and so on.
It was the Sunday after Thanksgiving.
What was 20, I didn't hear what you
I
said.
think he said the 22nd. For anyone that's not familiar with perambulation, that's when the two towns are supposed to go and look at their borders and say, yep, our border is still there.
So when the older town tells the younger town we have to go do it.
And so in saying that,
We're the
whereas that's
youngest
a
town in the
requirement
area,
for the
so we're
selectmen
always
to
gonna be
do
the youngest.
every
We're
single
West
year
Boston.
in
No.
our charter, yes.
It's
In
not
our
every year.
charter, in our
It's,
charter, you have to do the whole
7 years, I
circumference.
believe, is the requirement, or I
Well,
should
you
say.
gotta look at our charter.
The state
yearly
says that
basis.
it's every 7 years.
The law
I
is 7
believe.
years, yeah.
Yeah, so the law is 7
The law
years.
might be, but our charter says every single year, you have to walk our boundary. Someone representing you have to walk our boundary. That's in your charter.
Do you wanna see this? Would you
I
see-
Just
I
say
read
it.
through the
Oh, okay.
letter when the report came.
So that
That's
was
what,
all I had.
that's why
on that.
it perked my attention that it was only with Salisbury. Whereas the requirement is to do the whole periphery of our boundaries. Making sure,
No,
So-
each town does their own,
Right.
we'll do one with Webster, Boscawen.
We have to make
and-
arrangements with the
Yeah,
other.
with the others, because I know Boston.
so in other words,
Where the young-
I'm not quite sure
So-
as to why that would be 7 years, because after 7 years, if in fact it was only once every 7 years that that whoever's representing our town went out and walked our boundary, isn't that squatters' rights within that period in time?
It's town.
So in other words, if
it's different.
someone was doing something and you had not or
It's
regardless,
towns-
Boston,
It's
either?
towns, so it's different than individual residences.
No, you're not
and
hearing what I'm saying though.
I can't-
Okay,
Well, go ahead.
so it's town, it's where a town's border is. It has
Yes.
nothing to do with individual residents.
Right, I know.
And it is the requirement every 7 years of the longest incorporated town to request to perambulate with the town that has the border with it. So
And
as
that
the
may be
youngest
state
town
law,
in the area,
that may
we
be
have to
state law,
be
but
requested
please
by
refer back.
Salisbury and
Please refer back
Boston and
to
stuff.
our July 4th, 1860 charter.
Well, let's take a
It
look
says
at it.
that
Maybe
you
it's
will do
something
it.
we need to add to our book of
That used to
stuff.
be on your website.
Sure.
The original charter, well, a copy of the charter,
Mm-hmm.
because I was told there was a fire and the original charter burned, so subsequently I had to go to the archives to find out.
Well, let's find out what we can find out.
Okay.
I'm just pointing that out. Make sure nobody moves our property lines over and took up, or closer to the dump or anything.
All right.
Just saying. Or, and let me tell you as to why this is very prevalent in my mind, particularly, car park,
What?
Copart
Yep.
has a part in all that, as they used to walk.
Yeah, a lot of
all-
land. Yeah.
As they used to, well, no, boundary, no, I understand that, but waters, like, not the waters people, waters actual water, and streams and the way that that all flows down toward Mass Yard, along our boundary, Webster's boundary within there, as it meets into Concord as well as Hopkinton. Yeah, seriously, it's in our charter.
So that moves us on to the town hall rental policy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Apologize.
Are you ready to talk to
Yep,
that?
I can
Yeah.
talk, so you asked me to go back and talk with Brenda and Dana about what we suggest the fees should be going forward before we adopt the policy. So we sat down and we discussed it, and we think it makes sense to up the fees on both of them by $100.
Up
We're
comes,
also-
we're never gonna have a community center.
Nope. No more dancing.
Hang on.
And we're also eliminating the ability to just rent the downstairs, because people, because we don't wanna double book the hall. And we've had issues with the hall being double booked, and we feel like if somebody's gonna rent the hall, it's once per weekend, because we really only have the cleaning people to come in once per weekend, and we really don't have the staff to clean between the events if we had one on Saturday and on Sunday. So we wouldn't be able to give them a fresh, clean hall. And a lot of this fee adjustment is to take into account the amount it costs to hire Brenda to come out and clean the hall in between these events.
And so by the increase of 100, is this for both both residents and non-residents?
Correct.
Or, okay.
Wow.
Isn't this the people's house?
Wouldn't you think we should have a different, for residents, have a lesser amount?
It is lesser.
Oh, it is? Oh, I thought you said it was for, okay.
Right.
Well, he's saying the
Oh,
increase
okay.
is for both, but
Both,
it's already
okay.
a lesser value.
Yeah.
So what is it now
So it's 150, you'd be going up to 250
for residents,
for residents.
even for funerals and things?
Funerals, there's no cost.
Yeah, there's never any charge if it's like a funeral or something.
Or the church. This-
For the church
But
or
you
a
get the whole kit and
nonprofit.
caboodle, you get the kitchen too, right? Am I
Yes.
correct?
So
Although
you
you
get-
get responsibility for it as well, but that's not here
Yes.
and there. You still get the whole kit and
You
caboodle.
get the whole kit and caboodle, and you get it for the whole weekend.
Whole weekend.
Correct. So we're only allowing one person to rent it in time because we don't have the staff to clean it in between two events. Say we had it on Saturday and
That's gonna
somebody
be
will.
bad.
So
Yeah.
subsequently, you've got 52 events a year?
we could-
Potentially.
But then people can also rent it during the week.
So,
There are stipulations during the week, there can't be a public meeting that's night, so the town hall can't be being used. But if it is available, people could rent it during the week to use it.
Okay.
but if
Same
people,
price.
because if people
Same
wanted to
price.
have a wedding there Saturday, and then the church wants something there Sunday, you wouldn't rent it to the
The
wedding.
church would get priority.
Right. I don't like that. Is that a warrant article, or?
Should be.
How is that different
Is it-
from
'cause this
the
is the
way
people's
that it
house.
is handled now?
It should be, not just a
Well,
policy, that should be a warrant article.
Yep.
Beyond the fee change, which is to cover our costs,
Right.
what else in here is a change from the way that it is currently?
Nothing else is currently, other than the fact that we're only gonna be working one event per weekend.
That's kind of, that's
Well, we'd have to find somebody else to come and clean the hall.
clean.
See, we were always told that when we had an event, we had to clean up after it.
Right, but we still have to hire somebody to come out and clean in between the events. Just
Why?
because people
If-
say they're gonna clean the hall doesn't mean
They
it always
don't do
happens,
Well, make them leave a security deposit.
which they do. But then how are we, even if they don't leave it a mess, how are we supposed to have somebody come out and clean it in between the
It
event
needs to
if
be
it is a
verified
mess?
that it's clean for you to get the next day.
Correct.
No, I understand, but.
And or
this
fixed
is-
and cleaned if they didn't.
Correct.
The problem that bothers me is you can only rent it for a weekend. If something is, you know, say, I hate to say it, but it's, what if there's two people dying, you know, so you can't have something on Saturday or Sunday, or
Well, we
if we
could
all wanna have a
probably
big party,
arrange-
if the town wants to have a big party on Saturday night, and then somebody wants, church wants to come in and
You
have
better book early,
Huh?
cause it's only 52 weeks.
So,
Book early.
Well, I think that it doesn't happen very often, but
No.
it certainly, it could be considered a special type thing. If we could-
Correct.
If we could get someone just to check it, if we could have Brenda come in and check it in the meantime. And most people that do rent the hall leave it very nice. So that isn't the concern, but we do have to have her come in and clean. So, and I think that
Friday.
if that were to happen, and I don't know if we've had a lot of that,
If that's what-
maybe a couple times we've had like a double booking.
Yeah, it doesn't happen often,
Yeah.
but it has caused issues in the past.
If there's a.
So, I mean, I certainly think that we can be flexible. with it.
Right, if
yeah.
need be.
Well, yeah, if you can be flexible, because
You
you
know.
said, you're not gonna book it Saturday and Sunday for 52 weeks. That's impossible.
No, no.
But, it's, you just happen to have,
We have
51,
learned
because
that
we
it
have town
doesn't
meeting.
work having the upper and the
You know
lower
what this means.
rented to two different people.
that doesn't
We
work.
have, we have learned
It doesn't,
That doesn't work.
no.
yeah.
Yeah, I can see that,
Because
because,
some people who, it's happened in the past that people who rented upstairs only thought they were gonna have the ability to use the kitchen, just to use the oven to heat something up,
Yeah.
and somebody rented downstairs to do a Thanksgiving dinner.
yeah, I
And
could see
really-
that, yeah, I could see that.
Really couldn't happen.
as a
So
problem.
really, we can
So
talk
I,
with Brenda.
I agree with the upstairs and downstairs should go together, because the dueling events, both expecting they can do something quick, whether it's bathrooms up here or whether it's heating up a piece of food downstairs, even though that's not their event. I could definitely see a challenge there. I really don't like the limitation of one thing per weekend, even though it's a challenge for us to facilitate. Perhaps there should be some caveat put into whatever someone signs when they're signing up that states that if they're sharing a weekend, there are other considerations. And that it needs to like get approved
Yeah.
by janitorial first to be able to be available then to check the hall.
Why don't we take it back and we'll work on it?
Yep.
And we'll work
That's
with
probably a
Brenda.
good idea,
Yeah.
whereas, like Easter Sunday, have you considered that? They always have that breakfast here.
Well, if it's a church-run breakfast, then they would automatically have the hall.
Okay.
But if somebody wants to do something on Saturday night,
Right.
Yeah.
and then church wants something on Sunday,
Yeah.
and if we can only do one thing, I think that's kind of
just
cutting our
matters.
throat a little bit. Not that
Our
we make a lot of
concern-
money, but, you know,
No, we don't.
No, it's not even that.
It's
But
not
you
even
could have a
important, but
spring
it's just
wedding.
making
But-
sure that we deliver a quality of service.
no, I
when
appreciate
people
that
show
too.
up.
Yeah.
But what about the movies that Marty does?
Well, those are on Friday nights,
Yeah.
and those are already reserved at the beginning of the year. So he gives me the dates and I already put them in the calendar,
Okay,
so they don't get double booked.
And
okay.
those are fun. I like
'Cause,
them.
I mean, they are, I mean, that's what I'm saying, like, you know?
We certainly want to encourage use of the hall.
Right.
I mean, it's a
Absolutely.
great spot and it's.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's community center, like as
Yeah.
Kim said.
Yeah, so I would be,
There isn't really.
I would be completely in favor of some sort of clause that says back-to-back, like Saturday to Sunday bookings are at the availability of the custodian to do
Available
so.
custodian services.
Or something of that nature. I don't like just flat out saying that we can't do it.
Okay,
Or
we'll be glad
find
to bring
out-
this back to you next time.
Yeah, that would be
So,
good,
yeah.
let's think about that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cause it's a party town, man.
I might wanna have something.
That's
then.
right, and you could do it too. I might wanna have something. I've had a few
Okay.
parties here.
So that moves us on to the last of our old business, which was the budget presentation.
Michelle, I thought she was up
She's
here.
on her way up. She had work to finish and she didn't know how long, so
Okay.
I just texted her and said, they're ready for you.
Okay.
Perfect. While that goes, I don't want to get into a new topic, but do you have any correspondence that you'd like to grace us with while we wait?
Yes, I do.
Ooh.
We received a very nice thank you note from Phil and his family.
Oh, thank you.
Is there any other correspondence?
I don't know if you wanted to just talk about Merrimack County's budget and,
Ah, yes, that will probably be a little bit longer discussion. Um,
She's coming, I hear the door shut.
she's getting closer every minute. Thank you. That was the only correspondence I had.
Okay,
Dave?
and yes, don't let us forget to go into that budget correspondence later for a minute.
We already heard it.
Okay.
You don't have to tip.
But now that we have our
Did you
illustrious
see it?
clerk,
Did you see it?
we will go forward here.
Did she do what you said you was gonna do?
I do.
Here
Things
is
changed. so-
Michelle's
but I'll tell
budget.
you.
Michelle's, do you have that on the, no, thank you.
Well, I don't have the updated numbers, I just have
Oh,
what
okay.
we had. Welcome.
Hey, that was good. I was able to finish up.
Awesome.
Here,
Shanique?
Yeah.
So take it away, budget that you want and are presenting to us.
Did you hand it out, Dana?
I just did, yeah.
Yeah, we have a hand.
They have.
We now have it,
Yeah.
yes.
So it had been adjusted for the one election.
Mhm.
I reduced it down because the certification program is over. So those have, the workshops and conventions came down. And I guess expenses came down too. Cause I probably had some mileage built into that line.
You did what?
I saw that expenses came down, so I might have had some mileage,
Oh, okay.
associated with the certification built into that line too.
Yeah, I think that was one that got a little bit added when people voted to increase our budget with the fuel and so on surcharges.
No,
at
the town
last
clerk
one.
didn't get any money.
Oh, okay. I thought we put it into all the workshops, conventions, stuff that would have mileage too.
This budget, I mean, with the deputy town clerk, as you know, you didn't spend very much because you didn't have a deputy.
Mhm.
Right.
Hopefully that will change,
I have someone in the wings, so hopefully that pans out.
or don't scare them away now. Yeah.
I'm trying to. But I did up that, maximum per hour to $20 an hour.
For the assistant?
Yeah. Doesn't mean when I bring them on board that I would start out right at that amount.
Oh, okay.
With the flexibility in case you have the right person.
Right.
Does a deputy have to be a Webster resident?
The law's a little gray on that. We're told that they are, but there was something, I think in 2021, put out by the NHMA, saying that if the deputy wasn't from town, then somebody had to be appointed. But the way the statute reads is that the deputy assumes the responsibilities of the clerk, so they've always said that the clerk, or the deputy should be a resident, so they could shift up into that position.
Well, it
So
makes
I'm the only
sense.
one that's not clear on that.
Yeah, my understanding from what NHMA said, going along with this, but also for some of the other positions that are required to be in town, is that you can have either a deputy or an assistant. And if it's a deputy, because they will assume the responsibilities, they must be a resident. If it's an assistant, they don't have to be, because they don't get the,
Yeah, they wouldn't just
right.
Move in.
automatically, I guess,
Yeah.
move
Right.
up.
So that's my understanding, so it's a semantics thing, which is why it's weird to find anything on it. I can't
So I've always
guarantee that's
tried, I
correct,
guess, to
but
always have the position
certainly
be
best
somebody from
practice to-
Webster.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're gonna keep getting more and more people, so it's a little easier.
Well, they would know the town the best.
Yeah, that's true. No, that's true.
I have both sets of folks here, in Dana and Michelle. It's my understanding from some brief conversations that things such as the moderator position used to be in the elections section of the budget, which would make sense to me. Is there any suggestion or reason that either of you can think of that we should not do that again?
I say bring it back in there.
I
It
would
wasn't
agree.
explained
I
to
don't
me
know
why
why
it was
it's in the
removed in the
executive
first
lines,
place.
but,
Was it 2019? When, did you come on?
I came in 2020, it happened before me.
I think it was
That's one
18
thing
or
I
19.
didn't screw up, so.
So that's when Leslie was here.
But I don't know why it's in the, it seems more sense to be in the election line.
I agree. I agree.
So maybe we could take it out of.
So I would suggest that we
Move that.
set that up for the move and make sure that I don't think we need to bring Michelle back here again for it, but that the appropriate number ends up.
There were
in there.
several accounts that were changed in 2019.
Yes.
And this is one of them.
Are we gonna add in another,
It's some, I remember there being a kind of blanket statement that this is the way that is more similar to DRA and what they do. So we might wanna check into that before we do the movement, but it seems like it should be there
Well, when
to
I
me,
fill out the
so.
form for DRA, I mean, there's a section for elections,
Mhm.
and, you know.
and that's all the moderator
Yeah.
does,
Does, right.
is election.
So I don't know if it,
Well, town meeting.
but that was kind
Well,
of their
that's part of
overall
elections.
description of what they were fixing when they moved all of the
And
lines.
I'm not making a comment on
so-
what happened then, I'm just saying, I think it should be in.
So
the-
I would simply state that, let's
Yeah.
just make sure that it does actually make sense, even though we think it does.
Cause they, and we very well could put it into election wages account, because also at that time, they shifted the ballot clerks into the election wages line. Cause it was always town clerks, supervisors of the checklist in that account or line. And then they added in the ballot clerks, took out the selectman and the moderator into a different department.
Who added that? Our town or the state?
The people at the time, I think, is
people-
what.
When they moved
Oh,
it,
that's
That
that's
were
what
Dana
probably
and
in
Russ at the
2019.
time. Well, not
Leslie,
Russ.
Oh, it wasn't me,
Leslie.
It
So,
was
Leslie.
Leslie and Nancy.
yeah, Leslie and Nancy.
Oh, really?
so I would suggest that we, as long as it makes sense and we can, that election wages just be all of the election wages, whether it's
Including the moderator.
moderator, us, them, et cetera.
So we're gonna add this select board in there too, that was one of my other,
I would personally think that that would make sense.
I would
Yeah.
too, cause I never know where to charge that.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it's all election stuff anyway,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I'd
So I
say
think
it's
that's
easy.
where all of that should go.
But all in that one account, not,
I mean, if you think it should be more broken out, that's fine,
I
but
don't.
I don't think it matters.
I don't, it's,
No, it
I'm
doesn't
okay
matter
with
to
it
me.
unless you,
Here's,
you might know.
here's based on
more.
how many elections there are per year, and it's changing, so.
Well, the only thing by having a separate account, you know, it kinda gets in one pot, so it gets gray. I don't know if you'd ever, I suppose if you wanted to look, we could tell very easily who it went to. It would just save us having a couple extra accounts.
Yeah,
I don't know, maybe I should talk with the moderator and see what, if he knows any more. Maybe he knows something I don't, but.
I don't think he knew any different than
Yeah.
either.
I could understand different lines if it was expected that there would be different wages per, like, type, whether, like, maybe the moderator makes more or whatever.
Well, the ballot clerks don't.
And I'm
make
not
as
saying that
much.
they do,
The
but,
moderator should know because he was the
I think
treasurer
it's,
before.
I think it's good to change it to the election, so your cost center's in the right place.
I agree.
Yeah.
So, I would suggest, look into that and then try to collate it all into
Okay,
this election
but
wages.
Michelle, you'd be comfortable with one line?
I think so, unless you need it for that breakout. But I will tell you, Dave, that the ballot clerks don't make as much as the town clerk and the supervisors or the moderator. So that there's already that
Okay.
difference.
Yeah, so then I see no reason to add a bunch of lines unless you think they need to be broken out to be more
It's all,
individual.
they're all working for the election.
Yeah,
I think
it's all
that's
the same
easy,
thing.
right, right.
I also wanna share that for next year, I changed back to an hourly rate for the ballot clerks. I was trying to pay them per election. But the particular ballot clerks that we have right now it was more, I can work from 8 to 1, and so then it got a little harder to figure out an hourly wage, so I just did it.
And that's a
As an
long
hourly
day.
wage.
If you have family, you're young, you have family and stuff, that's a long day for me to sit too.
And if we can get people to participate, I think we should try to accommodate when their time slots can be. So I would
Yeah.
rather go back to
I
a
agree.
per hour.
No, that's good. I think so too.
Because it's certainly not what you're paying.
But while we're on the elections, it was brought up that maybe we should budget some monies for food to pay the workers.
You know, that's, well, we should, Russ should be here. So we'll ask him.
No, go ahead, Russ, go ahead.
No, just beg.
Russ was kind enough to donate his time and resources to make waffles one year.
I think it's a
Oh.
very long day for people working the elections with no food.
Well, they do pay, the Bosquen gets they get all their food.
They have all their food
They get
catered.
a big thing, yeah, right,
And-
catered, yeah,
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah,
yeah.
Alan.
Yeah,
But it is, you're
One
right,
more
it's a
reason for a
long
store.
day.
but the church did, this past election in November, the church, we didn't know that, but the church had, come back and were providing us with food, so that was nice. I don't know,
Oh, that is
But it would be nice, well, you know, even,
And I will say that it's been very nice, and I don't wanna throw anybody under the bus, but thank you, Paul, for every single election that I have been a part of, which is all of them since I've taken office.
yeah,
He has been volunteering and providing food for all of those folks. And that's awesome, but yes, I don't think he or some other volunteer should be required to do so.
right.
Which is why I usually have my wife bring me food all the time, but.
but it would be nice to
Not
give them the
everyone can do
money if
that.
they
Even if
wanted
we had some
volunteer. Have
You know,
them,
stuff in the morning, muffins or donuts or something, to go with the coffee, and if the church is willing to still do the, cause I don't wanna take it away from the church if
And we
they're
could donate
offering
to
to do
them.
that.
they
Thanks,
donate,
yeah,
right, they
appreciate
could
it,
probably
donation.
use the donations too.
Yeah. So maybe even if we budget some money for
Food,
breakfasty stuff.
A couple tuna fish sandwiches.
yeah, right.
I would be open to hearing or seeing something put in for.
So I didn't,
A
I
box of
didn't put
muffins or
that in,
something.
Russ can cook.
I didn't put that in
And get
anywhere,
paid.
cause I wasn't sure if a new account had to be created, or if it could be slid into some other account somewhere.
I will defer to Dana for that.
You would what? What was that?
I will defer to Dana for that.
Oh, yeah, right.
Well, I hate to put, that's not wages, so we can't stick it there.
Put it like, just how about food?
What is that?
Sustenance.
Is that supervisor of the checklist training?
Yeah.
How about election supplies?
I don't have a s-
You don't?
Well,
election
there's a clerk
supplies line.
supplies. There's a clerk supplies.
There's- I can
This is
put it in.
elections, that makes, yeah, that makes, I think that makes sense, election supplies.
So a new line?
Yeah,
I would
well,
think it'd be a new line.
what's one more line?
Well, I have so few. So many have been taken away.
Well, why don't we add one?
Yeah.
Because I think that you'll enjoy that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elections,
And that,
But I don't know
that
how
gives,
much we would
yeah,
put
that's
in.
what I was gonna say.
I was
So
gonna
if you-
say, yeah, we almost don't have, like, we have lots of supplies, but we have lots of supplies. So things like the pencils and pens, like, we're not going through and getting rid of them, but they are supplies that eventually sometime we'll have to have some of them replaced, so.
How about $100?
I was gonna say even more than
But there should be something there.
that.
Yeah, cause
But that
the
makes
supplies,
sense.
I bought some red pencils at the request
you
of
kept that
the
Depends.
moderator, or
Well,
red
it depends,
pens.
yeah.
what you
But I think I
Depends on
put
if you're
that
cooking it or
under
buying it.
Probably clerk supplies.
my clerk supplies, or I threw it under the supervisors of the checklist, cause figuring that was election supplies.
We're
That's
talking
true,
about
it is.
food supplies.
I
So
think
maybe you
that's
could
an
change
excellent-
the
And
title
Does it-
of.
Yes, yeah,
that.
I
Does it
know.
maybe make
Do you have
sense
any
to
ideas?
change that
No, you can put under
supervisor of the
election
checklist
Because
training
you're only
and
feeding the
supplies to
elected
being
volunteers.
election training and supplies?
So, you know.
Okay, I think that works.
If we can just change the title, then that
Of
makes
that
sense.
33.
Because if it's election
330.
training and
Oh.
supplies, then it
So you're
covers
gonna
them.
see that for a couple of years until it dies a noble death.
Well, it's the
Tells
same.
you know, the histories.
Oh,
That's what
okay,
I'm
yeah,
saying,
because
yeah.
you can't quote rename. or
We can,
something.
we can rename it.
That's what I'm saying.
Going forward. I know, I hear what you're saying, I'm just making the statement that it will show from a previous year
Oh,
what
yeah.
the old name used to be.
So what are we renaming?
SOC, training, mileage, and supplies.
Okay.
So how much do you think you should add to that for food?
Did,
Supplies.
one of you just said $100.
I said that,
You
yeah.
said
I think
Is that
it's a
enough?
little low depending on
I
the
think
amount of
that's, I
election.
think it's gonna be low too.
I think it'd be like more like,
Do we, who bought the water? Did somebody bring water for the election? I thought somebody
I
said there
think it
was
was the
water.
church.
The
Pardon?
church brought
The
some
church.
The
stuff.
church did.
From the
The
church.
church
I think
had,
it'd
had coffee
be
and
about $200
water and tea and
for a
stuff.
full day election. How many people are there? Like
Oh, there were a lot this year.
10, 15?
Oh, you mean for, oh, I see, help.
That would be being fed.
3, 4, 5, 10 to 15, cause you, yeah.
Yeah, I would say about 200.
They can only have one sandwich apiece and a couple of potatoes.
Well, I mean, if there's money left over, this always goes back in the budget. It's not like
Yes,
we're gonna
yeah.
waste
Right.
it.
Okay.
So if there was one election, about 200. If there was two, maybe.
Yeah, I'd
400.
say, yeah, I would say.
Well,
Well,
why don't we
this
see how
year-
it goes?
This year's election doesn't even start till 10 o'clock. Not this year, I'm sorry. The one we're talking about.
Right, yeah.
That's only town election, that starts at 10 o'clock, so do we really need to have snacks
No
before that?
waffles?
Well, you go from what, 10 to 7?
10 to 7.
And
But if
then
the
people-
church has,
Yeah.
but that's really kind of expecting that, maybe
is
we
the
should
ol-
put it in.
That is the only election next year, right?
Yeah.
you know-
So maybe we should still just
Well,
have
if
it.
you're only doing lunch and dinner, you could probably just cut that by 50 to $75, and then you're probably all right.
I think you put 200, you'll be fine. It's the
Okay.
same.
Yeah.
It's not gonna matter.
So basically, you wanna put that line, instead of deducting 200, you wanna leave it the same that it was then?
Oh,
Oh,
I
wait,
see.
that's 200 up,
We're gonna add 200 to that line.
so it'd be another 200,
Yeah.
okay. Is the suggestion, okay.
And we're also gonna be, when we adjust the moderator salaries, we'll be adding to that, the election wages line
Yep,
And the select boards.
and the
Right.
select.
so the,
Why are they giving
let me
you
ask this, the question.
cost of
for that SOC training mileage and supplies,
Yes.
since we're having less elections, what is driving the increase? Is it the training of a new checklist person, or is something else driving that increase?
They have 24 hours, so basically 3 8-hour sessions for 3 people. Because they're essential, I know Nancy did election net training, but it was virtual, no, it wasn't virtual. I think Sarah plugged it in so that they all could do the election net training in Concord. And we just appointed Ben tonight to fill Sarah's spot. But that's their breakout that they have is 24 hours, which is 3 8-hour sessions for
8-hour
them.
sessions, yeah.
And then,
So is it
I
that they
didn't-
weren't doing this before? Because it's a 43, like what they had requested was a 43% increase compared to previous. So is it just that now everybody's gonna go get trained, whereas it was only, say, one person before, or?
they might have only had the training, I didn't bring last year's, Dave, but they might have only had the training in for one new person. But
Okay.
what I did was I also added $100 for mileage reimbursement. Cause they didn't have any their line says mileage, but they didn't have any money in there for mileage.
Oh, that's interesting.
So if they go to training and then put in, there wouldn't be any money left
Okay.
for mileage. So I did add, I talked to Nancy about it tonight, but I added in 100, and then they had $200 for supplies.
Okay.
Very good.
Well, they've only used $90 out of what their 460 from this budget, so I think we're doing okay.
Yeah, without, I should have pulled last year's little draft that she had given to me, but I didn't.
But okay, that makes sense as to the numbering, especially with the, and I thought it would have something to do with the additional training, because now there's more new people.
And I don't think Jennifer has gone at all either.
Mhm.
So, and Nancy may just do the refresher.
That makes sense. Okay. It is very good to have well-trained elections people.
Yeah,
as
right.
we have been fortunate to have the entire time that I've been here.
Yes, there's a lot more with the computer piece of it now than years past.
Okay. Any further questions or comments on
Nope,
this?
sounds like we're planning ahead.
I would like to talk to you about adding some additional software.
Okay.
So I think I have funds remaining, because my budget report is only through November 10th, but I still think I have some money. I definitely won't go over the bottom line because of the deputy town clerk. But it's $500, and it's to add in online quoting for the customer, like, so the residents initiate it themselves, so they can go on to the kiosk and get a quote for their renewal, for a new vehicle, for a transfer. It's it just walks them through it, and they answer the questions, and then it gives them what the price will be. Instead of them waiting to call me during my hours or leave me a message, then I gotta call them back, and so it kind of provides.
Is this for all the things, or just car registrations?
Just cars.
or- And is this a one-time fee or a yearly fee?
So the way the contract is, it's $500 to basically set it up, and then they include the support for the first year, but whereas it's at the end of the year, I talked to the vendor and they said I could basically pay for it this year with the funds, but it would start, they can't guarantee the 1st of January just because they have to schedule it to be able to do whatever they do behind the scenes. But it's purchase and configuration, and then the estimated annual support would be $500 annually to keep it updated and
And you mentioned the kiosk, which typically has surcharges on top of it when people use it. Is that waived here? Is this accounting for doing the entire process online, or is this just print something out and then bring it to you so they know ahead of time?
Do you mean like my online renewals, that kiosk?
Well, so you, when you say the kiosk, I automatically think of actually our property tax stuff, which is the New Hampshire property kiosk thing. And there's always a surcharge on top of the actual bill amount if you use it to pay through that instead of just coming in with your normal tax bill.
But that surcharge is added to the customers.
Correct.
So, yeah, there's no,
But my point is, if we're paying to do all of this, I don't want our customers or our residents to then also get charged a second time.
there was no mention of that in this contract. And when I went on to a couple other towns to see how it would work, and there was no extra charges.
Okay.
So this is a separate process. They're just gonna find out, I have a new car and I wanna know how much it's gonna cost to register it. So
Yeah.
then I can't register it then?
No.
Okay.
No. Or if they lost their paperwork on to renew it, or they wanted to do it, I had some today that wanted to do it for March. They renew in March. They haven't received any renewal stuff yet, because I only get it a month in advance. So I believe they'd be able to go on there and see.
So if they like wanted to go on vacation or go to Florida for 3 months, they won't have to worry about it.
Yeah. It's just another service for the residents. And I didn't think $500 is a lot to me, but in the grand scheme of things. But I know it's just also, it saves them time, it saves me time. They can do it whenever they want to do it and not, oh, well, she's only open this day and.
Have you had requests for this, or is it something that you think people will just pick up, or do you think that people will kind of need to be prompted towards it and figure it out and do some training?
I'll put something on the website. They would, I get called all the time to give a quote. So yes.
Okay.
There's a need for it. I just thought it would save time on my end and then be more of a service to the customer because they don't have to wait for a call back from me, or they can just do it whenever they want. Or they're looking at this car versus this car, and that they can kind of figure out how much
will it
on their
cost.
own without having to wait.
Okay. Did you have any other questions or comments?
Out of my league.
So, yes.
No offense at all. We're in a recession, I think it's a frivolous expense right now. $500 down, $500 a year, and pay as you go. I just don't think we need another $500 expense. We can put that towards a road or something else. You know, I know roads need to be done, and it's may not sound like a lot of money to the 2,000 or more people that live in town, but we need to cut our ties somewhere. We need to tighten the belt.
Okay.
I really don't know how many people will use it. I mean, and I understand about saving time, but like I said, no offense at all. But I just know, if we make it through the winter with fuel and everything else, I don't think it's the right time to spend $500 on something like this, because people want to know how much they're going to be paying for a $70,000 car that they're going to buy.
Let's see if I have that.
And I don't track my time for all the quotes that I do, so I can't even argue that
No,
they're spending $1,000 in my time, like.
No, like I said, no offense, but it's a lot of money to put in a piece of software, and then a lot of money a year.
I thought 500 was a lot
Yeah.
every year for,
If I could do the entire process online and never have to come talk to you, though I don't know why anyone would want to, that would,
That's
give
not
an
very nice.
additional impetus to like, this makes sense. But if they can't actually do the process, like,
Yeah,
if
it's
they
just
can't
more
actually
of
go
a
through the whole
tool.
thing, then that seems like a lot less value.
Do you know other towns that have done this?
There was 7 or 8, I know, Bristol, I think it's Bristol, is that Raymond?
Raymond?
Bristol has it, I was looking on their site, Bosquen has it,
Well, also has a lot of people
San
working
Bernardino.
for them
And a
too.
huge tax base, yeah.
those were the 3 that I was kinda going to.
Well, normally.
I can hold off on it, I don't,
I usually like to be the first doing everything, but on the other hand, I kinda think with the way money's going, maybe we should just hold off on something really, another new thing.
well, I know it's really not budget really, but I, did wanna brag about the success of the online renewals. And then,
Like how
'Cause since the-
successful.
well, since the beginning of January, when I rolled out the online motor vehicle and dogs, the motor vehicle has brought in almost a quarter of the revenue that I bring in for motor vehicles for the year, which I thought was good.
So,
So
but that's
people
for
are
the year,
using it.
right? That's for, since
So we've
January
got
till November.
Basically a quarter of the people are freeing up some of your time and then.
I guess
doing
I'll
it
have more time to
online.
quote.
That's
I'm
right.
not sure it frees up my time other than my yap time.
Well,
But because
It's
there's
called
still a lot
customers.
of more behind the scenes time to process it and still batch out and reconcile that, but it definitely is more of a convenience for the residents, so I'm glad to see that they're using it.
Yes.
And it certainly does add time for Michelle when she has to balance so that we know what to credit where. Because
That's
it's
absolutely
a lot of
This
time
credit
she
stuff is
spends on
weird
it, yeah.
For the way it credits through
And
town.
has added more time for Wendy and the treasurer by adding the credit cards, and now since October, the credit cards at the counter too. It just adds more time.
Careful, Michelle, you go all online, you're gonna be out of a job.
Is this, I was just gonna ask, with this quoting bit, is there another step up or feature or similar that they offer that allows it to go from being a quote to being, I can actually handle it all here? Since we already have renewals and stuff online.
So, no, you wouldn't be able to get a new registration or transfer online, that's an in-person visit.
Okay.
Just the renewal would be helpful, which they can do online. But they wouldn't be able to do the renewal online 3 months in advance. They would still have to either mail it in to me or come in person. Because the file isn't there yet for them to be able to renew online.
everybody wants to see you, come on, what the heck?
Well, but she had a valid point. The people that are leaving for Florida, if they wanna get this quote and they wanna leave in November, they can bring in their credit card if that's what they work off of. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, they're gonna take their credit card with them to Florida. They're not gonna send that back if in fact they don't have a checking account or whatever the case may be. You know, as far as physical checks, to send that back to you. It wouldn't be. And then they just come back in June or whatever the heck they do. In that regard, it's,
So I think it's a plus for this rollout of that, because we are paying another $15 a month to have the credit card reader.
You are planning on what? Say
still
that,
paying.
$15.
There's $15 a month as like a rental of the credit card reader.
Oh.
Even though the credit card company is getting all the fees when somebody uses.
So we still have to
credit
pay
card.
for a rental of the machine? Boy, do they have it made in the shade.
And you get a fee for using your card in there.
What was that?
Yeah,
And you get a fee for
Yep,
using your
and
card.
we have to pay more because we used a card.
Yeah.
Convenience.
Of course, that's what people want.
They do, and
It's the
it's,
other
this is
part.
evident
Yeah.
of that. I mean, I wouldn't say that all this was credit card charges, the figure, the quarter, that's just the usage of the online feature.
Yeah, because some of it could be not credit card, it could be bank transfer style, which doesn't
Yeah, that's
have
95
extra-
cents
Yeah.
if you use a check.
So,
How many dogs went online? Percentage?
$135.
so I like the concept. I don't like the price, but I think that would be worth having Marlo weigh in on as well. So I would like you to send that information along with when you do the updated budget with the moderator and so on and so forth in your side of it. And then when we have our budget work session, which originally was going to be tomorrow, but if Marlo is sick, that probably won't happen, so that we can all be there.
Well, I
Then-
probably wouldn't get it to you by tomorrow.
Well, that's true, but that's why I'm stating that it would then make sense that we as a whole board look at all of that instead of just making a decision now.
Good idea. Second that.
But Dana, you've worked the $15 a month into that software account?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah.
And fortunately, we've done pretty good with our services charges across the board with our software subscriptions. We've had a lot of expectations and also a lot of reductions that we've done along the way, so our software subscriptions have continued to come down.
Really?
Yeah.
That's because you're the fighter on that one? Sure, not me.
I certainly helped when we changed
Oh,
one
yeah,
of our
'cause you
major
know what you're doing.
providers. But we've also gotten several other services and we're still down for the year.
Oh, wow.
So, and down in our recommendations for next year. So that's very good in that aspect of things. Anyway, anything further? All right. Do we have anything further for budgeting? I know we originally hoped for CIP, but we don't have it. Is there-
No,
that completes
Michelle
all
was
of our
the
budget
last,
visitings,
she was
right?
our last victim.
Sorry, I wasn't prepared.
So, I mean, you'd be ready to work on the operating budget from what you have, and you know. We had planned to do that tomorrow, but if Marlo can't,
Yeah.
when would you like to reschedule that, if that were to be an issue? What would you like to think about it, let me know. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, thank you.
Bye. Thank you,
Something we
Chief.
said?
Yeah, 4 o'clock comes early.
Can I ask a question? Am I privy to know the numbers?
Can't hear you.
Am I privy to know the numbers?
Numbers of what?
The three that were just presented?
Which wants to have the numbers for the town clerk budget.
Oh, for the budget? Yeah, he can give you a copy of that.
I just didn't know, because everybody said, oh, okay, here's the
I mean,
numbers,
it's-
but I
it's-
never heard numbers
It-
on
it-
anything.
it's
Not
all-
in a bad way.
yeah.
I know it'll come out, but
It's all in progress, so I'll
No, that's
simply
fine.
state that, but yeah, you should be able to have them. Maybe Thursday at the same time instead of Tuesday, but if she's like really sick, then that's not gonna work
Yeah, I was
either,
gonna say,
so.
we don't want her around.
But if it's later than that, I probably won't exist.
Oh, yeah,
So-
That's
it's getting
right, what is
close.
that?
So I'm going
Wow.
to suggest that we schedule for Thursday as a backup to tomorrow. And
We'll
I don't know
post
if she'd be able to make it or not, but.
Okay, I will talk with her tomorrow first thing.
But,
And I'll post it just in case, so that way it's posted.
what time is it?
so
Maybe 2.
it's supposed to be tomorrow at 2, but we'll try Thursday at 2. If Marlo can't make it tomorrow, I guess talk to her in the morning, and send us an email, or give us a call and let us know whether she
I'll
is
do that.
feeling great.
Give
and
me
it
a
was-
call, please.
Yeah.
hopefully it was just, something in the air that she went by that was a problem.
Hopefully she didn't get what I got, cause that's down for 4 days.
My
But,
son's been sick for a week and a half.
Yeah,
with
it's been
this
going
thing.
around.
but if it's not and it's worse, then, yeah.
Keep her away, keep her away.
Yeah, we don't.
Did you give it to
We
her?
don't wanna spread from.
I haven't seen her since I got back.
All right,
Okay.
so that moves us on to,
I think we're on to,
Merrimack County.
yeah.
yes, the Merrimack County
Okay.
budget, which is a new business, and so I don't need to worry about remembering it for correspondence.
So, Merrimack County sent us their proposed budget for the upcoming year, and they also sent, notices of when they're having their public hearing. And it appears they've got 2 meetings they gave us. The public notice for, to present and discuss the 2023 Commissioner's proposed budget. And the other is the Merrimack County Executive Committee is gonna meet immediately after that meeting to authorize tax anticipation borrowing for 2023.
Yeah, and so, without going through the details of their, actually, you know what? Why don't you just read their overview summary letter thing? It's like half a page that says why they were doing it. Just because people should hear that.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, in compliance with New Hampshire RSA 2421A, we are providing you with a copy of the proposed Merrimack County budget for calendar year 2023. The proposed $102,181,309 budget includes a 2.9 increase in property taxes, a 2.9
Percent increase.
percent
Yeah.
increase in property taxes, or a $1,352,553 increase. The 2023 budget reflects an overall increase of 2.95%, or $2,931,807 above the 2022 budget. The 2023 budget utilizes $5,498,577 of fund balance. Nursing home revenue is projected to increase by $2,417,856, and Register of Deeds revenue shows a $275,000 decrease compared to last year's budget. Health insurance rates have decreased 7%.
I don't know where they get their insurance.
where they
but
get
I want
that.
it.
I wonder how they do that. And many of the county positions remain vacant, resulting in an estimated decrease of $2,011,540 from last year's budget. Combined alternative care and nursing home care costs are expected to increase by $473,396, 3.08%. Overall, personnel costs are set to increase by 6.9%, or $2,438,783 due to the expectation of filling vacancies in our nursing home, correctional facility, and sheriff's department. We are currently in contract negotiations with the NCEU, Corrections, NEPBA Sheriff, ICWUC Nursing Home. Any financial implications arising from the adoption of this contract will require adjustments to this budget. The 2023 budget includes the utilization of $7,500,000 awarded to Merrimack County by the American Rescue Plan Act. The largest projects in progress at the moment are updates and repairs to our wastewater treatment plant, as well as an investment into a solar array. As property values within Merrimack County communities have increased during the past several years, the county's tax rate has continued to decline. The most recent New Hampshire Department of Revenue Equalized Assessed Valuation Survey reflected a county tax of $2.05 per thousand. We look forward to working with you at the upcoming budget subcommittee meetings and throughout our new fiscal year. Respectfully yours,
Their
Tara
com-
Reardon,
their
Peter Spalding,
commissioners.
and Stuart Trickey. I don't believe that last one about equalization, that's okay.
So, the main thing that I found interesting there, and not, what was it? Because I know they mentioned it, but it was their desire to add a bunch of TAN use, which of course is a tax anticipation notice or a short-term loan. And I would rather, as much as I would like to not see us have increases in amounts, I really don't like to see increases that are, let's just fund a bank's interest rate. So I don't know how we can most appropriately discuss that, or, like, I know that's my view, I don't know if it's, I would think that would be the overall view of Webster, because we don't do it that way. We want to do things appropriately within budget. But I don't know, what would be the appropriate mechanism for, if we wanted to express that to them as one of their constituent towns?
As members of the board, you're
Would that be
talking
the
about.
members of the board make a decision and write a letter?
I would think that would be the way to do that,
Okay,
yeah.
and of course, we would need, we would want Marlo here to
Yeah,
do
right,
that, because it probably should not be sent unless it was unanimous. Though I
could
guess I
draft
should
the
ask,
letter and have
how do you feel about that?
No, I
Because-
agree, I think
Okay.
Marla should be here.
No, I meant about the using TANs.
I think they should start saving money with the silt.
So,
The county seems to always do that, it's been doing it forever, so. And I'm thinking, I'm getting really excited here saying, oh, they decrease this and that, and then you, but they don't
but
tell
yet
you the
entire-
bottom
but yet
line.
they said the entire budget was up, a significant amount, so.
It took me 4 days to get an actual line item copy of their budget.
Wait, say
And I
that
had to
again?
go- It took me 4 days
Yep,
to get an actual line item copy of their budget, and I had to go to 4 different locations.
really?
I don't see where they've put their tax anticipation note in their MS 46. Now, maybe,
Well, I have one in my, you mean,
no, I have the MS
You have
46,
it.
but I'm talking about the,
oh, tax
I'm
anticipation?
looking for where they have the,
Because they said they were gonna have the hearing to do that.
so it sounds like they haven't put it in here, but they're gonna have this meeting afterwards to decide if they're going to authorize this. Just a comment.
Yep.
So your tax anticipation overall? You mean that 2.9 at the end?
The what? But, yeah.
They've got long-term notes, they've got interest.
Yeah, they don't break
Oh, I
out
beg your
TANs.
pardon, they have put interest on revenue anticipation notes. Okay,
Oh, where was that?
revenue anticipation.
Oh, under interest?
I'm looking under debt service.
I'm trying to find the right line item out of it. Oh, there it is.
4723, but that doesn't, I'm a little puzzled because it doesn't,
Yeah, because this is stating that they're then expecting for the 2023 budget to have to spend $250,000 on interest of tax anticipation revenue notes. And that just seems completely irresponsible to me.
and they don't have anywhere, maybe I need to be
So,
quiet.
I would like to, let's see.
Would you like me to draft a letter that you can
Yes.
all look at?
I think
and-
drafting a letter about that and that we can then share, since we are of the same mind, then we can talk with Marla when
I'm
she's
sure
there. And
Yeah,
and if we all unanimously agree, then we can send that as an opinion of their constituents that they should
So their
do
meetings
things more
are
appropriately.
a week
Balance the
from today.
budget, don't just
What's the date?
take out loans.
Yeah. Their meeting, a week from today, the 12th of December. And it is at 10 in the morning at the old courthouse.
where's that, in
Old
Concord?
courthouse, downtown?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have to stand at the door till someone lets you in.
Really?
So that brings us to the other new business, which is the town website.
Yeah, we just wanted to, first of all, I think we have a little more work to do on the website. We have looked, the website we have currently costs us $2,200 a year as a user fee. We've had several people who have told us they don't like the website and it's hard to use. I think it's adequate, but it is, for lack of a better word, I don't know, this probably isn't the right word, but antique-y,
I was gonna say cumbersome, but
but it's
And not
cumbersome,
user-friendly.
you know?
yes.
And, I know that I don't manage it very well, that's why Russ is here, but, but when he's explained to me how to do things, it seems to be a little convoluted. So, I've had a company that has been trying to drum up business. It's a company called Revise, and again, if you wanted to do this, the yearly cost is $400 lower. I have looked at their websites that they have suggested I look at. I have not checked their references and so forth, but I do know some towns that have this, and they look very nice and easy to use, and that's kind of what I think is a very good thing. Naturally, with any new thing, there's a setup charge, and so, I've forgotten what that was, Russ, do you remember?
It was something like $1,000 more in the first year, or maybe $1,000 or $2,000
Yeah,
more.
the user fee was 1,800 instead of 2,200, and I think the setup,
Was 2,000.
$2,000, I should have that right here, at any rate. So, the reason we're bringing it up is, would you like us to go forward and get some more information on this, plus see what else might be out there? Are you satisfied with the website? Because it certainly works.
I'll let Dee comment first.
You want me to answer? I am not a website person at all. I don't go online. I hate to say it, but, it
Well, many
wastes too
people
much
don't.
time for me, and I just don't have the time, because then I get mad and all that, so, yeah, it had to be really easy for me.
You know, and Dee, you and I are like, we're getting to be dinosaurs. 'Cause
Yes, we are. Yes,
People really, depend on the website.
Yeah, no, that's
And,
true.
you know.
I'm a people person. I'd rather talk to somebody, and,
Yeah.
so Dave's the guy to go for this, but.
So,
I mean, is it worth our effort, I guess is.
and that's kind of where I'm going with it. I personally would love to save the amount per year, and I would love to see a better website. It would be really easy in any transition to lose a lot of data, or to make it really hard for somebody to do their work. And so, you can get by with that, but it takes time and effort from everybody involved to make sure that it's gonna be the correct solution going forward. And while I would love to do that and have everybody doing that, I know that we have several major projects that are currently being managed by the office and that take a lot of your time. And so my question would, before saying, hey, go do it, would be, do you think you have the time and resources to seriously expend into that with everybody that's going to be using the site in the office? With multiple different brands and vendors to see which one is going to be the best solution, not just a cheaper solution?
I appreciate the question. I guess I look at it as what is best for the town. And if the board thought that they wanted to explore that, naturally, that's what Russ and I would do, is explore it more. I realize there's a lot that I probably am not aware of what goes into it. And so I depend heavily on the vendor.
Right.
And it would have to feel confident that and obviously there's many more questions I would need to ask the vendor to make sure that they're qualified, A, and B, that we would get the end product that we need.
Right.
So as far as time, I'm not sure, Dave, if I know exactly what I'm talking about when number time.
I mean, I'm just thinking for me, talking about doing the research and then actually managing the migration, because like I'm doing with DocuWare, I have to pack boxes up, I have to drive the boxes down to Manchester, I have to verify that everything's put in the system correct. It's not just going in and looking for the quotes, it's that once they're doing it, we have to manage what they're doing. And I would say for me, at the moment, it's a little busy up until at least after town meeting, or April 15th is usually when we get to the summer months. This is a project that could probably be revisited, but I think right now we're moving into a pretty busy season, and we already got a lot on our plate. But it is something worthwhile, I think, looking into once things slow down for the summer months.
And I don't want my hair on fire.
Yes.
Right.
So,
But practically, when you bring it up like that, yes,
yeah,
you're right.
So my suggestion then is, obviously this is not something that we could do and incorporate in next year's budget anyway for, hey, we're here, we're gonna save money.
It's not a short term.
So
It's a long-term save.
I would suggest that, yes, look into it, but make sure that the projects and stuff that we currently have going on remain a higher priority
Right,
than this.
AK not our priority.
And as far as time commitment, to do it appropriately, I would suggest that you would be looking at least the same amount of time as was put in to choose the digital records management.
Which was about half a year.
The continuation of like how that gets managed, et cetera, shouldn't be more than like what we're doing now. I would be hard pressed to find it not being less. However, there would be various training or learning that would have to happen before that we get there. So I would suggest that research and then possibly putting it into budgeting and implementation the next summer is probably the most logistical way of looking at it, to as long as we can keep things moving as it happens, to do it in a reasonable manner. It may also line up very well with, hey, we can tie into pulling stuff out of the document management system.
Right.
And automate some of the stuff. So like anytime we file a thing, well, it goes to the document management system and a copy also goes here and it automatically happens. So those are the kinds of things that you can ask going forward, that with the exception of Russ, because he's starting to work with that new document system, no one really knows to
Right.
ask or consider yet.
Right.
So I'm personally extremely excited that you bring this to us and that the other options are less expensive, but fully cognizant of the time and effort to do it appropriately.
I guess that we also would contact our current vendor and say, do you have something that's a little more It's a
we would
friendly,
love
I
to stay
guess.
with you,
Yeah.
but.
Yeah,
I would be
that's the-
completely in
that's the way
favor of you
things are.
contacting our current vendor and saying, hey, we're getting requests to move to less expensive and more capable products. Do you have a better price?
Yeah,
Because we can implement that immediately.
sure, sure. Okay, thank you.
All right. And that moves us on to correspondence, which I believe we did,
You
unless
did
there was
that.
any
Yeah,
further.
Yeah.
All right. And that brings us to public comment, the two that are left. Yes.
I just wanted to talk to Dee. Do you know the administrator, town administrator in Boston?
Do I know him? Yeah.
Is it a
I
he
know.
or she?
It's a she,
It's a she.
Katie.
Katie, yeah, right, now you're gonna ask me
I know.
Meryl or Merrick, wait a minute, Katie, there's two Katies.
Because
Meryl, I think.
Because somebody that works there, I know she lives on Queen Street. Anyway, about the zip code thing, because we'd like to approach them to see about going along with the zip code with Webster. Because that's what our postmaster was saying, they'd like to do Bosquen and Webster as one zip code.
Their
Because we-
own, ones, really?
Yeah, because I don't think that we have any streets that match.
You have that, well, I'm sorry, what?
I don't think we have any streets that are the same names in Bosquen.
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't know, some of those trailer parks, there's gonna be another new street going in too, so with 30-something houses.
Right, but that,
There's a
Yeah,
couple
'cause-
of those.
Yeah.
but they're gonna have to rearrange some of the rural routes and maybe some of the city routes anyway, because right now, they're all O3s.
Yeah,
And
right,
if- And if
exactly.
we get, say, like an O8, something like that, then.
Oh, that'd be great to have our own zip code.
It would be, and they're really for it, because it's so.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Because
we
there's so
tried,
much building.
I bet we tried that in Webster probably 40 years ago.
Oh, yeah, I
I
know.
have the original letter.
I guess my
Yes,
question would be,
the last
does
time
it,
I have the original letter.
well, it's
the
probably
last time
easier to do
issued.
it with Bosquen. My thinking would be that part of the reason to get our own is to get away from the Concord-style statistics of land
That's-
use.
that's
which
exactly
Bosquen-
why.
Which Bosquen has.
Bosquen is agricultural.
No, we are the agricultural
We're the
designation.
ones that are the more rural
But we're not. I
know that,
agricultural
but-
So
compared
subsequently,
to them.
this
Boston
town.
has
So-
different zones.
Right.
This
Yeah.
town,
Yeah, they're
we
not-
are, we are
Pardon?
considered the agricultural zone of Concord.
So,
And yet, whereas our
Webster is
zip
con-
code is not designated as rural, we are not eligible
So-
for a lot of USDA, that type of things. I'm talking about even you guys applying.
and so that's my
For our citizens'
same
best interest, for our
question,
residents' best
is
interest.
if we go in with Boscawen to do this, because Boscawen is so much more dense and larger,
We don't-
do we actually get the benefits we're hoping to get
No,
by a new
we're
zip
better
code?
off applying ourselves.
We'll
So-
never, we're too small to get our own zip code.
But Bo did.
Bo's huge.
And
Look
yet,
at the
and
population.
yet,
Bo's got
let's
a lot of
think-
money.
Let's just
They've got a
think,
lot of
I know, but
schools,
think
they've
about
got
this for a second. Andover has
businesses.
two.
What?
Andover has two zip codes.
I think it's
Are you
because
sure?
of the big scope, the big,
Do you know
school
why it
up there.
was?
Proctor?
Do you know why
No,
it was?
Andover.
Oh,
Initially, do you know why it was?
I have no idea.
The ice house.
What's the ice house?
The ice house that is probably 12 times the size of this building, minimum, 3 stories high, that utilized Highland Lake there, right? Isn't that what it is, Highland Lake?
Yeah.
Highland Lake to cut all the ice that was shipped on the railroad down to Boston
Oh, you're kidding.
to sell it. Yes, because it was, East Andover was its own section of town, and that was such a huge business that they got their own zip code.
Wow.
They have their own
Yeah, so
post
it really,
office.
in many ways, it has nothing to do with Proctor.
So yes, I would very much appreciate
we had our
further
own zip code at one point.
investigation into that.
yeah.
Yes.
I would not suggest that as a town we jump into doing it with Bosquen unless we get the benefits that we're
Correct.
hoping for.
Right,
Thank
so,
you.
so we need to do some homework on it.
So
And-
Bosquen used to have its own provincial stamp, but that was them. and that was actually. when
They had
we
their
were
own
with
post
them.
office at one time.
Right, that's.
Yeah,
when
and they
we were
closed
with
it.
them.
And they
Webster
closed
did
it.
have his own deal, because I'm not quite sure if you ever remember Mark, Kimball?
Who?
Isn't it Mark Kimball? The builder that passed.
Oh, no, that Mark is the one that works up there.
Okay, what was the really good one?
I'm trying to
Anyway,
think of his
he had
name.
he actually started a Webster website. And he actually had a copy of an envelope that he had with a postmark of Webster's zip code number
Wow.
on it.
I don't ever remember, it. Well, I don't know.
Well,
I
zip
mean, I've
codes
been
did,
here
But I don't
50
know
years.
where,
60s, I
I don't know
think.
where any of that,
I don't know.
I don't know what happened, because I feel like he was in
Peter.
Colorado when he passed.
It was Peter.
Peter.
Well,
He had copies of-
it was the officer in charge, the postmaster in charge, that mentioned, I'd like to see Bosquen and Webster as one zip code because of the size of us. Because,
That's not gonna help us have that rural
well, it
designation.
might. What we have to do is find out. We have to find out. Because we're still a separate town.
Yeah, but, the way to go about that is 25 signatures need to come to these guys. These guys need to say, that's great, wonderful, fine, we're in support of it.
So I'll let you go ahead and talk
And it
afterwards.
just
Yes,
goes
that's fine.
Congress
And I talked to Dee about it.
But I have two questions.
Yes.
You're asking for public, right?
Yep.
So my question is, so the property tonight that the bid got accepted on,
Yes,
will that in fact have a warranty deed?
no.
No.
That'll be a standard release deed like we've been doing with all the ones in accordance to our policy.
I've written down these questions as,
My question on that was, did the right of way go with that piece of property? Or does that woman still own it?
The right-of-way, to my understanding, the right-of-way is from the, a butter that parcel came out of.
Yes, Sajowski or whatever it
And
is.
is to the larger piece of property that was already bid and purchased.
Right.
But the reason for that, easement access easement, or right-of-way, whatever, I don't remember
Right.
whether it's a right-of-way or an
Yeah, it
access
was an
easement,
easement, I
but
think.
something of that nature. The reason for that happening was for the consideration of the purchase of the
Of the
garage
garage.
site.
So the people that bought the garage, they don't have the easement rights, because,
The people that bought the garage are the people that currently own the property that the easement rights are to. So are
that's.
extracting from.
That's Mrs., no,
So
she
they're now-
only bid 5,000.
So they're now tied to the same house as it used to
The
be.
easement is Carol.
back to,
Yeah, so everything is as it was, but with new owners now, is
Oh.
basically what's happened.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious, go ahead.
and then my other question, is, and it perked my attention as I remember my memory. When was our policy changed that accepts anonymous complaints without a signature? And only because years ago, that did in fact show up in the grapevine, a full letter had been taken out. And in this particular instance, the school would not pay attention to it, as well as the town, because it was in fact not signed. It was anonymous, and it was all stated, and it was actually like an
Was
insert.
an anonymous letter in my newspaper?
Yes.
I did it once,
Yes, so. in
and I
saying
know
that,
who wrote the letter. I would, because I knew there was gonna be it would be bad. I didn't know
Okay.
who wrote the letter. I wouldn't print an anonymous letter.
Okay.
I knew who it was.
So I guess that's what because that's what perked my memory, because I'm like, wait, when do you, like, that particular situation did not move forward in a legal manner because of the fact that was anonymously presented.
I believe.
Otherwise, there could have been major complications
I
at
believe
that
it
point in
was
time.
around
So
the
I'm
same-
asking, when did our policy change? That's
So
all I'm
I
asking.
believe it was around the same time that we got the new town attorney, because we were asking them all kinds of questions as we were going through the policies, like, what do we need to update, what do we need, can we just reaffirm, et cetera. But I don't have a specific recollection of that.
I'll do some research on it, because I don't remember the date either.
Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
yeah.
Only because, I mean, oh my goodness gracious. I don't know how much you remember that, but I'm like, oh my God, there were, people were up in arms that nothing was gonna be paid attention to that particular situation.
See, I don't know, I
referring
can't
to the
remember what the
insert.
letter was even
But
about.
I mean, like, people were up in arms in this town, that with the information that was there, that nothing was able to go forward, recognizing because it was anonymous. So I'm just asking as to when our policy, I'm not being
Well,
rude, I'm just saying, okay, because,
I would also state that publishing a letter in, say, the Grapevine or another newspaper, even if it is a complaint, is not a complaint to the
You
town
guys,
or
no,
to
no,
the
I understand
school
that,
or
I understand
whatever.
that.
And the school's policies may be completely different and
absolutely,
completely
I understand,
legally
two separate
so-
corporations, I get it, I get it, I get it.
But that's also
Yep.
past, and we can only
Oh, no,
go
no,
with
no,
what
no,
we're
I'm
told
just-
we
I'm
have to
about-
Do
do.
you know how many years ago that letter was
So-
published in my
I-
newspaper? It's
That was-
probably
that was a long time ago.
40 years ago,
But-
30, no, about 30.
No, wasn't 30, wasn't
So-
30, wasn't that far.
So is there anything further that we
Yes.
can address for you?
What is the status of the ag commission, of our little ag commission?
I thought you were getting people that wanted to get onto it.
Okay, did you ever hear anything from anybody in town?
I personally have not, I don't know if
I
anyone's
haven't
reached out
either,
to the
yeah.
office.
Okay,
Something in the grade.
so, no, I mean, like, I can still continue to move forward with that then?
Yeah, absolutely.
And come right back to you, okay.
Sure.
That's all, I just, okay. And, no, that's it then.
All
Me.
right. Thank you
and-
very much. Yes.
One other quick question, I know I should probably already know these. What are the deadlines for submitting things to go in front of you guys so that it can go onto the warrant articles? Just dates, I know that those are always,
Oh, for warrant articles.
do you hear what I'm saying?
You mean like a petition warrant article?
No, petition, I
Just-
don't think, well, I don't know.
Well,
There are certain dates that I know, if in fact if you wanna put something into a warrant article, procedurally, now is around the time that it needs to come here
If
to get okayed from you
If you wanna
guys.
do a warrant article,
Okay,
and you come to the select board and they're willing to put it on the warrant,
yep.
they have until, I think it's the last, I'll have to get you the dates, cause I don't know the date.
There are a couple of
February
dates.
something,
It's
it's like
February,
the
okay.
last,
Okay,
week of February. The petition is early February, if
Okay.
you had like 25 voters sign something to put a
Right.
petition on.
that we definitely
warrant
wanna get on the
article by
warrant
petition.
article that essentially you guys can't say no to. In
But
that
that's-
regard.
You have
Not
to-
in a bad, I'm not being rude, but
If
that's,
it, no,
the
if
difference.
you have the,
That's late.
you know,
And
if
that's
registered
early
voters.
February?
Registered
And
voters.
I'll get
Yeah.
you the date, but I think it's early February.
I just don't wanna miss that date if that's a state.
I won't let you
The
miss
sooner
it.
the better, if you want that to
Well,
happen.
no, I understand that, but something always made me feel as if something had to be paid attention to in December or January or something. I
believe
apologize.
January is when we have to file if we're running for office.
Yeah, that's like the
I think
last
that's
week.
by the end of January sometime.
Oh,
within
I'm
the-
not doing that.
But I think January is the running for office. Michelle will have all of the dates.
Okay.
So the town clerk can tell you all of the dates for all of it. She'll
Those,
have it all
those
written
were the
down.
two. Those were the two, because I
And I
know
have the
that,
dates too.
I guess the reason that I'm asking is sometimes there's an earlier date so that if in fact, something gets proposed to you and you guys are choosing not to take it on, then subsequently that timely manner is given to go get those signatures so that subsequently it
You'd
can
wanna
become
go
a
to the select
petition.
board.
It can become a
Ahead of
petition.
that, I mean, enough so that you could get signatures if you.
Yeah.
And
But you-
so I
You said
would
end of
s-
February?
No,
For
the
petition.
petition articles probably, I'll give, Kim, I don't dare tell you the date,
It's
because I
okay.
don't know it, but
No,
I
if you,
will,
I would
I will
appreciate
let
that.
you get, I'll
It
get
just
it
tells
for
me
you.
it's not December, and that's, I guess, what
No,
my.
It's not
not
December.
My heightened concern.
And so the thing I would suggest there is, even things that have been related to the town that could have been pretty easy for a board to take on and say, we as a board are gonna put it on a warrant article, have often been said, the
I know,
best
we're not
way
doing
to
it.
do this is through a petition.
Correct.
Like, that's even been done with the Historic Society, for example.
Yes, yes.
So I would suggest that, without having any idea what your topic or concept.
no, yeah.
We may all approve it and like it, but without having any idea, I would suggest that the most appropriate thing is going to be a petition warrant article, and that
Okay.
you prepare and expect to go through that process to ensure that you get what you want on the warrant article.
Okay.
The second comment that I would make there is, what you don't want to have happen is something that you're passionate about getting in a warrant article, being presented by the select board on your behalf. And the reason I say that is because at, for example, the budget hearing, when we do our mock, go through everything, we
Yep.
haven't yet voted on saying that, yes, we're definitely putting all these warrant articles on.
Okay.
And we can
That's-
decide,
Yeah.
we're not gonna present that warrant article
Correct.
anymore. And the deadlines are way past for
That's,
even us
I
to
guess,
change
what my
anything.
concern,
So-
that was what I remembered.
So, and that actually happened last year with a warrant article, where we said, okay, we're just not, people don't have the appetite for this, we're just not gonna touch it for the actual articles, because it's not the right time.
I remember I was sitting on that.
So that can happen. And if it's something that you are passionate about, you want to make sure that's not the case.
Okay.
By getting a petition article in early enough, one of the things that could happen if there is support by a select board, and I can't remember what the article was about, but I remember that something like this, I think it was the veterans benefits. I might be wrong, but I think it was the veterans tax exemption thing. That can be written, submitted, and we can't change or alter anything about it. It must show up on the warrant article the way that it was submitted by petition.
By petition, okay.
But what we can do is, if we run it through legal counsel and say this should probably be a thing, people are probably gonna vote for it, we can run it through legal counsel.
I can
As-
amend it,
As the
or a
select
petitioner
board,
can-
no.
Oh.
But we can then write an amendment that, write a warrant article that does the same thing in a more legally appropriate manner, and present it as such that this is the petition warrant article, this is the more legally accurate and enforceable or pertainable we can do it way to do the same thing. And it will be written such that, like, this can only be enacted if the other does not pass. It's, that
okay.
sort of thing.
Okay.
So we can do that, and so you might see like a slight alteration or something of that nature, but we can't alter the actual petition warrant article. It must show up as it is, the way it was, period.
Okay, thank you. And then-
Those can be amended at town meeting by the voters.
Yep.
They
but,
can be
yep.
altered, they may not alter the spirit or intent. So they can change a number, like how much something is, or how many things, or whatever. But they can't, as happened at the school board, the school meeting. I don't remember if it was last year or the year before, I think it was last year. Someone actually made a motion to amend a article that was there to make it do the exact opposite of what that warrant article said. And people supported it, and supported doing that change. But legally, it couldn't happen, because that's changing what the original petition
Intent was.
warrant article was for. And so that couldn't happen. It was voted down because it didn't have the appropriate response of people to pass it. But you can't change the intent of something at town meeting, but you can change figures and numbers and stuff of that nature.
Okay. One other quick question,
Mhm.
just to kind of gets me on this thing. Is the Isabel Anderson Fund still on our line item?
I believe it is.
I just needed to know as to whether I have to reestablish it
No, there's
but no,
funds in it.
I'm not
We
being,
talked about it.
but no, this is how I'm thinking.
Right.
I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about that fund. I don't wanna see it go
I would be
away.
curious to know when the last time anything happened to that fund was in either direction.
That would be a
Ah,
good
That would
question
be
for
an
the
interesting
trustees.
very-
report
Yeah.
to get from
Not
the
very,
trustees.
not very long ago, because it had some money in it.
But,
Not very long ago, maybe
All right.
5 to 7 years ago, I don't know. Anyway,
all right.
I
Any
just feel
further
like
public comment?
she was such a big donor in town and what her intent was and the whole thing, that,
All right,
it's just me.
thank you, that moves
I
us.
really think
Yes,
that I should get money into her fund so that now, although I believe when the fund was created, it wouldn't have been this intense, but because I think that it must have been in her will for her to give this fund to us. But in saying that, I would like to see the fund at least support a trip for an individual or many to actually Washington DC, to the estate down there, right, that she donated down there to the Society of Cincinnati.
They still have one in Boston?
They
I believe
they
so.
ripped it down.
Museum, right?
No, they ripped it down. They ripped
Oh.
down the house. They only have the barn, and that is now the Lars Anderson Auto Museum.
okay, I
The
knew there was an
estate
auto
is
museum
literally
that was
gone.
associated with it.
Although, it's very interesting if you go onto the Brookline, Massachusetts Historical Society, they have pegged together a whole YouTube with all the estate and that, but that is not what's in Washington for educational. But anyway, so I will thank you very much for everyone's time and patience.
Thanks for coming.
Go home,
I
take
didn't
some
want you guys to
melatonin
be
and just
lonely.
go off to sleep.
I have to pop in here every so often because I know you guys
Okay.
get lonely. I drive
You know,
I drive by here and I go, oh, it's a selectmen's meeting. Then I go, oh, they must be so lonely, there's only a couple guys
There
there.
were no cars outside.
that's been the case a lot
Thank you
lately,
all
so.
for your
No,
Thank you.
I mean, that's,
All right, that moves us on
thank you
to
guys,
draft
seriously.
Thank
meeting
you.
minutes.
Appreciate
I would suggest that since Marlo's not here, that we just move past it and we'll
Okay.
deal with it with
Yeah,
her, since we're
next
also
time.
late.
Gee, really?
And that was just for motions for payments and signing of documents.
I've got the credit card bills,
Do we have those abatements too?
and yeah, we're getting there,
Okay.
and we have an abatement.
Here's a pen.
So I guess on
Oh, you'll
these,
need one too.
we usually just sign these, so that's
Yeah, all
where
right.
the,
Yes, all right. Yeah, let's-
that one came up. I tried.
You need to replace the,
You need a pen, Dave?
because I keep
He's
grabbing.
looking for one.
There you go.
I have a
Well, no, I
supply.
got a couple in my
I still
pocket.
have this old one in there that's dead, that doesn't have ink in it, and it's always the
That's
one I
good,
grab
Dave.
first.
My
out of there.
suggestion might be to throw that one out.
Every
Just
time I
a
go
thought.
to a meeting now.
Well,
I
it's not like one of the disposable,
Oh, it's a refillable.
yeah. It's actually a pretty nice pen. I just haven't done anything with
All
it.
right, is this all, that all goes to that? No. that's-
Yeah, that's
Oh,
all the
this is,
backup
oh, this is
for it.
the whole batch?
That's
Oh,
the
there.
backup, yeah.
It's getting late, I'm telling you.
It is.
I got newspapers to do.
There's a bed at home waiting for me.
Oh,
I hear
yeah.
it calling.
Thank you.
And then we have, a $500 abatement for a
Veterans tax.
veterans exemption that they didn't get, that they
The-
should have.
Yeah, the box wasn't checked, so I fixed it.
Thank you for fixing it.
Yeah, well, I tell everybody, if you don't see it on your tax bill, let me know, and then I'll make sure the box is checked, and they let me know.
And now the box is checked, so
And now the
life
box
is
is
good.
checked.
Oh,
There you
It's
go.
an easy fix. Do we have motions?
No,
no
Oh,
more?
thank God.
No more
Awesome.
signing?
no. This is
All
this is
right.
What do you
amazing.
have all those
Do we
folders
have
there
any
for?
non-publics?
Thank God, no.
All right,
Oh,
thank
I
you.
like this.
This is my meeting, too.
All right,
thought
anything further?
I'm gonna go turn it off.
Anything further?
Okay, no,
All
nothing
right, I
further.
move that we close the meeting at 9:54.
Oh my God, thank you.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, yeah.
turn it off. Jeez, how can you even carry that thing full of water?